Meenakshi ji, over to you.
Good morning. My name is Meenakshi. I'm the Assistant Secretary General of ASSOCHAM, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome everybody to this first India Smart Data Centers and Cloud Infrastructure Summit 2020. We have a very distinguished set of guests with us who will address us, and it's my absolute honor today to welcome Shri Som Parkash, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Thank you so much, Mr. Minister, for taking time out today and being with us. We are looking forward to hearing your views. Thank you, sir. We also have with us Srimati Jyoti Arora, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor, Ministry of Electronics and IT. Thank you for being with us, Mrs. Arora. Welcome to this summit. We have with us Shri Anurag Dua, Partner PwC, and Shri Sunil Gupta, Managing Director and CEO, Yotta Infrastructure. Thank you so much for being with us. We are looking forward to your views and learning so much from this. The summit is very crucial and very relevant because, as you know, the business has evolved and grown over the last 2 decades and assumed special and renewed significance in the last few days, especially with the advent of COVID. Data centers have evolved over decades from a single computer room to massive racks filled with rows and rows of racks. The pace of evolution is only increasing, with the result of continuously rising expectations of organizations and individuals for greater use on speed, productivity, stability, efficiency, and user experience. Data center business is now become even more crucial because there is need and amplified demand for the IT industry to move towards solutions concentrating on availability, optimal utilization of resources, and maximized productivity. Also, with the advent of COVID, businesses are now swiftly moving towards remote business operations, with work from home becoming a core part of the new age business model. The above factors have resulted in a lot of data being created and consumed by the users, leading to an increase in data center services requirements as the data needs to be stored, analyzed, and computed. And that is the reason why we have organized this very important summit today, so that we could bring the industry leaders, stakeholders, and policymakers together to discuss the next billion-dollar opportunity in data center and cloud business, and also future investments in India's digital infrastructure, including discussions around smart data centers, opportunities and challenges in making these data center business, new hybrid models of data center and cloud, and latest trends in technology. Future developments in data center and strategies that will shape the character and cloud industry in India and strengthen India's position in the global data center market are issues that urgently need to be addressed and discussed. We have subject experts with us. Therefore, I would like to now give the floor to them. Thank you once again and welcome to this summit. May I now request Shri Anurag Dua to address the gathering and reveal the report to us. Anurag ji, over to you.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi ji. Namaskar, Honorable Minister Sahab, ASNFA Madam at Ministry of Electronics and IT, and all the dignitaries who are there on the panel today, and those who are today there in the webinar. So thank you so much, and thank you so much, Ashokam, for arranging something like this. I think this is one of the most topical things, and as we speak, the entire digital infrastructure, and I would rather call it more of a digital infrastructure than a data center or hosting spaces. Now, before I go ahead, I'll just we along with Ashokam, we have come out with a report on this topic, and I'll just with the permission of Honorable Minister and ASNFA Madam, we would just want to quickly launch that report. Varun, shall I go ahead? Great, thanks.
Please.
I hope the report is visible. Can you see the homepage, Varun? Meenakshi, is the report visible?
Yes, please.
Great. So I'll just take 10 seconds to quickly glance through the report, and so we are talking about a few things around how data centers are driving the digital economy, what have been the trends, how do we secure the cloud, and so on and so forth. And probably one of the most important things that has been talked about by the Honorable PM also, how data centers can act as a key driver for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So with this, Varun, can you just take off the screen sharing?
Yes.
Is it off? Okay, great, thanks. So again, thank you so much, everyone. And so very quickly, I'll just give a quick introduction to the report before we move to the next section. So friends, I think digitalization, as we call it, what we see is that is getting embedded in all the sections of the society today, and it has become so omnipresent across the private sector. While private sector has been a flag bearer of adopting digital, but what I would say is that today, when we look at the ecosystem, not only private sector but the governments, citizens, all the sections of the society, the entire ecosystem is something that has adopted it so well. And I think it would not be wrong to say that digital has now become the transformative force behind the digital economy of the country. And I think that's a statement that has been echoed in multiple forums in multiple ways. And if you look at it, government of India has also put up its aspiration to become a $1 trillion digital economy by 2025, riding on various digital initiatives. Now, if you look at the entire digital thing, I think one of the other things that I would want to say is that while we have always seen private sector moving at a very rapid pace to become more and more digitalized, adopt new age technologies, I would say that today government is not far behind in adopting emerging technologies. In fact, if you see riding on the umbrella initiative of Digital India in the last few years, riding on various developments that have happened around the Jam Trinity, we see that government has been really at the forefront of harnessing technologies, which includes newest things such as artificial intelligence, IoT, and all those things for better governance as well as for better public delivery of services across all levels. And this is something that I say is across all levels, be it central government initiatives, state government initiatives, or be it various initiatives that have been manifested in the form of the smart city programs, where we have seen really cutting edge technologies adoption being done by the government. So I think that has become, and that's for the first point that I was mentioning, that it has become really omnipresent across all sectors. And if we see the pace of this digital revolution, we would say that really the data centric ecosystem is getting created in the country now. Digital platforms today, everywhere across the country, we talk about digital platforms, be it private sector initiatives, be it government initiatives, and those are the ones that are really driving the digital economy. And again, if you see data centers and the overall digital infrastructure, which includes data centers and hosting spaces, they form one of the most critical aspects to realize this vision of the government and of the country overall. If we see digital really making an impact on the economy across all sectors, and if you look at some of the key sectors of the country, be it services sector has always been there, but not only services sector. If you look at some of the more fundamental sectors such as agriculture, such as education, such as healthcare, lots of initiatives are being taken. Today we talk about National Digital Health Mission getting created. We have seen how a scheme like Ayushman Bharat has been really successful riding on the digital backbone. So this is where I think we are moving. And as I say, the data centers and the hostings, they form one of the most critical aspect of this entire journey of the country overall. In fact, if you look at it again, government of India has been putting a lot of effort around this. We see both in the terms of policy making or probably investing significantly in this area, be it through BharatNet program, or if you see the recent union budget proposal, which talks about setting up of data center parks across the country by the private players. So a lot of impetus has been made on this. I also see a private sector really coming up. We have lots of people on the panel today. They have really come up well to support the country's journey in this direction. And going forward, I really see a more synergistic role between the government and the private sector. That would be the key to drive or to advance India's journey in becoming a thriving digital economy. So with that, I think I would thank Ashok once again for picking up a subject as topical as this, and I hope you would find this report a good read. Thank you so much, everyone, and all the best.
Thank you, Anurag. That was really great, and I hope this report will become a reference point for those who are looking to educate themselves on the digital economy and the way forward for our country. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
May I
thanks,
now
thanks.
request Srimati Jyoti Arora, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor, Ministry of Electronics and IT, to share her views with us. Jyoti ji, please.
Honorable Minister Shri Som Parkash ji, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, dear colleagues and people attending this webinar. I think, first of all, I would like to congratulate ASSOCHAM for holding this webinar on a very, very important subject of India's smart data centers and cloud infrastructure, and how it can be part of the next billion-dollar economy. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we
can
can.
hear you.
Yes, you are.
Okay. One of the major policy focus areas of the present government has been to promote digital economy and digital governance, as we all know. And because of the major initiatives taken by the government today, we have over 718 million internet subscribers. India is the second largest online market, ranked only behind China. Foremost reasons for this massive outbreak include an explosion of data through smartphones, social networking sites, e-commerce companies, digital businesses, and even government-initiated digital projects, as has already been mentioned by Mr. Dua. Thus, the requirement of data center market in India is witnessing tremendous growth since the last few years. More than ever before, post the COVID-19, as we all know that there are a lot of business processes changing and also people going to work from home. Digital services and digital businesses increasing on a very fast pace. This will become a very crucial part of the economy, and therefore the need for more data centers. New technologies are also, as has already been said, are also driving towards more digital economy. The evolution of emerging technologies like AI, machine learning, cloud computing, 4G, 5G, and fintech, AR, VR, blockchain, all businesses actually adopting these new technologies will require a lot of computing and storage resources in order to cater to the requirement and provide the required outcomes to businesses, organizations, and end users. Government's emphasis on having a lot of emphasis on data privacy and promoting data localization in the country is also going to lead to more demand for the data centers. As you all know, the proposed personal data protection bill proposes that individuals' critical and sensitive personal data must be stored within the country, along with all digital transactions executing within the country. This will lead to a lot of opportunities for the private sector to have investment in the data centers, which will actually lead to generating revenue, more job opportunities, and more economic activity. Globally, also data is being created at an unprecedented pace. I just went through the report which Mr. Dua has just, I was given the executive summary of that. The kind of data which is being generated, stored and replicated is likely to grow from 33 zettabytes to 175 zettabytes from 2018 to 2025. So this is the kind of pace at which the data is going to increase. And India has already highest data usage per smartphone user. And by 2022, the projection is that it is going to increase by more than 72%. As of now, India has more than 150 co-location data centers in the public and private sector. And in the Indian data center market size is forecasted to reach around $1.5 billion industry by 2022. So this is a compounded growth rate of 11.4%, and the cloud market is projected to grow at CAGR of 25%. So the ministry, which actually has in its business rules the governance of the data centers, is very, very conscious of this market situation. And when we are talking about having 5 trillion economy by the year 2024, I think large part of it will also be contributed by digital economy, and therefore the need for data storage and data centers and computing resources. I think the aspiration is that with this kind of opportunity which we are having in terms of having local demand as well as ecosystem which government is thinking of creating, our aspiration is that we should become one of the major global players, at least not global, at least regional player in the Asia Pacific region. Now, METI recognizes the challenges being faced by this industry, and we've had a lot of stakeholders consultation in this regard already. Because we are coming out with a data center policy very shortly. So in that connection, we have had conversations with different stakeholders and with different ministries as well. So where we are as of now, I will just take a few minutes to elucidate that. And since a lot of industry people are present here, if there is a little more ask from the ministry in that regard, we will be very happy to take the recommendation of the today's webinar and try to incorporate in the policy, which we are likely to bring very shortly. Now, looking at the critical nature of this, in Union Budget 2020, the Government of India announced that it will develop a policy to create data center parks across the country. So that shows that the government has a strong intent to build data center parks in the country and become a global hub for delivery of digital services. Now here, what we are probably, as of now, the thought process is that we are looking at hyper data centers at one level and cloud economic zones, which will be a cluster of hyper data centers and hyperscale data centers, and then small data centers. Now, cloud data centers will be on the pattern of SEZ, where we can throw in some, there would be aggregated infrastructure where the requirements of the land, water, and electricity, which is an important component, could be aggregated together, and maybe some ease of doing business also put in there, because there are a lot of issues about getting clearances as well. So there we are thinking of having some fiscal and non-fiscal incentives as of now, but we are just working on that. So this is as far as on the data center part is concerned. But there are other pain points also, because people have been investing in this industry even now. So I think the issues which have come up while our discussion with the industry, one of the issues is that we should declare data center as infrastructure industry. Already we have been able to have some level of clearances with the Ministry of Economic Affairs, and shortly we should be able to get something on that, which will help in getting finances at a comparatively cheaper rate, and whatever is possible once an industry is declared as an infrastructure industry. So those kind of because as of now, this data center industry is classified under IT and ITES industries, and therefore it has to be regulated under those kind of rules and regulations, which of course are not catering to their demand. So, so if it comes under infrastructure, so apart from having easier access and cheaper access to finance, there would be other benefits as well. Now, the second pain point which the industry said was that because one of the major OPEX for data centers is the power requirement, and the cost of power across states is different and it is at a higher rate. Though open access is a very stated policy in the Indian Electricity Act 2003, that open access is a mandatory provision, but most of the state utilities are not actually allowing open access, because most of the data centers want to club the renewable energy production along with the data centers, and therefore they are also utilities are also not allowing the banking, which can decrease the cost of per unit of power, because if you have open access, then you don't have to pay the cross subsidies and surcharges. Therefore, it becomes much more competitive. If we have to become a regional hub or the global, one of the major global players, so this is one of the major costs of running a data center. So we are very, very conscious of this. We are talking to the state governments around this. Also, we will be coming up with some kind of policy or direction, or we'll see what, I mean, that is part of the thing which we are trying to address in the policy on data center. There are some issues which are around the DOT. There is no speaker from the Ministry of Telecommunication, because I think there was one ask, they probably wanted direct access to dark fiber. But we are sitting in the ministry, we are also talking to the Department of Telecommunication if we can address one of those pain points. And if it makes them more competitive and then more robust and also kind of more secure. So as of now, dark fiber is not available directly to the it's only available to the service provider. So this is one issue probably which needs to be looked at. And also because data center needs different kind of building structures. So standards, we already have some standards, but we are coming up with general standards for data centers so that we become one of the most looking at whatever is the global practice, making them more competitive, efficient, and also on the building codes also, wherever the requirement of the data center is in a particular format, that also be sitting with the states and along with the Ministry of Urban Development and BIS to see that can be addressed. Now there is another thing about the data centers have to have around 40 clearances, which takes a lot of time. So even in the dedicated parks, this issue will be addressed to some extent, but we are looking at, can we have for data centers some clearances as deemed clearances? So we are looking at each and every requirement and sitting with the states and the central ministries wherever some kind of alignment or ease of doing business is possible, that we are trying to build into the policy. And also there is a ask that we notify data centers as essential services. That point also is being taken care of. We are addressing that into that policy which we are trying to bring. Now, there are many states also which have taken individual initiatives. So we would like to bring at one place what are the different incentives available, so that there is a kind of competition also within the states to bring this industry. So therefore, we are trying to create an ecosystem that the industry has ease of doing business, as well as a confidence to bring investment. There are a lot of people already doing thinking on a very mega scale. Bombay has come up as one of the major hubs for that, and a lot of people are kind of thinking of investing in this. We would be very happy to kind of provide any kind of assistance from, as we have done. All of you know that in the electronics industry, we have come up with 50,000 crore scheme, and which has given a lot of fillip to the electronics industry. So similarly, this become being we understand that this is one of the new areas where we can have a lot of investment coming up. So we will be very happy to engage further with the industry. And I think in today's seminar, whatever the industry thinks, I have seen the list which you have put in the technical session. So all these things, in any case, from our perspective, we are trying to build that into the policy. All of you know that the government has also announced an 8,000 crore for the quantum computing also in the last budget. So we are looking at those resources also. Can we kind of pull in that here? Another initiative which the ministry is taking is about the trust infrastructure. That is, whatever is coming into the building of these data centers also, because a lot of it is the electronic component. So there is a lot of synergy when we are kind of promoting all the schemes in the electronics industry also. So there we are looking at what possibly can be done for the trusted infrastructure, and what kind of preference treatment we can give for infrastructure built within the country, so that there is a fillip to the local ancillary industry development as well. So, so we are looking at it a little more holistically, as in the beginning, the organizer said that it's keeping into consideration the objective and the call which our Prime Minister has given for having for making India Atmanirbhar Bharat. So on all these issues, I just wanted to tell the industry that we are very cognizant of all these issues, and it's a work in progress. We would have liked that it should have been out, but shortly we will be coming up with this policy. And all the recommendations which you will be giving after consultation with today's participants, please share that with us, so that we can incorporate whatever suggestions will come today from this session. Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I congratulate the organizers once again, and will be very happy to. I'll be listening very keenly to the minister, because Ministry of Commerce also actually is putting in a lot of effort to in making India Atmanirbhar Bharat, and then kind of coming up with the duty structure which is helping the electronics industry, as well as will come up the policy which he will be coming up, the ministry will be coming up for the data centers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jyoti ji. It was really very encouraging to hear the vision and the roadmap that you have outlined to us for the industry, and it's very encouraging to see how you are working to create this enabling environment, you know, and ensuring ease of business in a very inclusive and consultative manner, by taking the views of the industry on board, and that's very encouraging, and we're really thankful to you. It's really you know, very good that we have industry as well today. Shri Sunil Gupta, who's representing the managing director of just a moment, I'll just with us of Yotta Enterprises, and I'm going to now welcome him to share his views with us. Sunil ji, over to you.
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. Honorable Minister Sir, Mrs. Jyoti Arora, dear friends, good morning. I must confess that many of the points which I wanted to touch upon today have already been touched upon in detail and addressed by Mrs. Jyoti Arora in her speech. So today, India stands on the cusp of a major digital transformation, a transformation that was already in the making at a furious pace for last couple of years, but fast-tracked further by the currently prevailing COVID-19 crisis. But even at this time, when we are all stuck at our homes, consumers like you and me are getting entertained with high-definition videos via OTT platforms on our smart TVs and smart mobiles. E-commerce has become the norm to get things delivered at our homes. Online payment channels are booming. Direct benefit transfers are being initiated by governments to help the needy. Our children's education has practically shifted almost entirely to remote and online education. Thanks to Prime Minister's vision for Digital India, we have made tremendous progress in getting 1 billion Indians online. India is digitizing at a faster pace than many mature and emerging economies. The fact that today all of us are attending this event online, even while we may be sitting across India or across the world at our homes, says a lot about how digitization is influencing our present day and how it will play a bigger role in our future. And this trend of accelerated adoption of digital tools shall only increase in the post-COVID era. I must say, with the new world economic order, the emerging socio-political scenario, and a strong and confident India, enterprises and governments are now more and more focusing, more than ever before, on becoming self-reliant, that is Atmanirbhar, in their supply chains within the country, and that is also leading to more emphasis on data privacy, data protection, and consequently on data localization. All these trends are leading to a massive data explosion within Indian shores. India is also witnessing a massive shift of enterprise application workloads from their captive data centers to public clouds or hosted private clouds due to the pay-as-you-use models, the enormous scalability they offer, and also to avoid the risk of downtimes which might be there due to limited accessibility and maintenance of the captive data centers which enterprises run. Just like a physical economy needs a massive investment in physical infrastructure in terms of roads, railways, airports, malls, hospitals, schools, the digital economy needs an equally massive investment in underlying digital infrastructure in the form of data centers. To store and process this ever increasing localized data growth and centralized cloud workloads, India needs mass scale investment in a self-reliant and self-sufficient data center park with highly scalable, mission critical, specialized buildings, mass power availability, both from the grid as well as from captively generated green energy sources, gigabytes of internet connectivity, fiber availability from multiple telecom operators, and various other support ecosystem services. With this, I would like to play a short clip by Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, Honorable Minister for Law and Justice, Communications, Electronics and IT, Government of India, which he delivered on the eve of the launch of Yotta's first data center building in Navi Mumbai, Maharashtra. Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji sums it up very well. How data centers, rather high quality and highly scalable data centers, are necessary for a nation to grow and how they are fundamental enabler of digital India. A great change which is visible since last few years and which was very visible in Mrs. Jyoti Arora's speech also is that both central and state governments have become increasingly aware of the criticality of digitization and the important roles which data centers play towards that. Central government has come up with cloud policy enabling ministries and departments to take advantage of the latest in cloud and data center services offered by private operators. States are increasingly competing with each other to announce data center specific policy initiatives independent of their ITES policies, including things like stamp duty waivers, GST credits, electricity duty waivers, cheaper land, ready availability of HT power connections, etc. Some of the ground level issues faced by data center industry in terms of construction norms like slab to slab heights, parking requirements, etc. were recently addressed by Government of Maharashtra. Our Honorable Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, mentioned about a central data center park policy in this year's budget. However, considering the enormously critical role played by data centers in the country's journey towards data sovereignty, digitization, and a $5 trillion economy, this is a perfect time for every one of us to come together and address the challenges faced by this sector. First, it is time that we move towards providing data centers with a separate infrastructure status. Building a data center is a capital intensive task. It requires real estate, power, network, and all of this in abundance. A separate infrastructure status, if provided to the data centers, will ensure better access to capital borrowings at a reduced rate, since banks will have relaxation in maintenance of capital adequacy for infrastructure lending. A similar status is provided to logistics sector and affordable housing, which has given impetus to investments in those sectors. Second, extending commercial benefits to attract fresh investments in data centers. Just like the government is attracting manufacturing in India via Make in India program, state and central governments should also roll out special incentives, including cheaper land, waiver of stamp duties, cheaper power, waiver of electrical duties, reducing VAT and excise on diesel or bringing the same under GST umbrella, zero or lesser import duties on components, and long-term income tax rebates for data center propcos, data center opcos, and data center investors. Since some of the benefits asked by the industry are already available in SEZs, the government can possibly extend the additional sector-specific benefits requested by the industry under the existing SEZ Act or rules itself and promote data centers in SEZs. Third, local, state, and central governments should look at easing out the approval processes and have a single window clearance mechanism for various approvals. From the initiation of a data center project to its going live for commercial use, there are more than 40 approvals required, a count which may vary depending upon multiple factors. A data center which otherwise can be launched in 15 to 18 months can take anywhere from 24 to 30 months due to multiplicity, latency, and complexity of these approvals. A single window clearance to facilitate these approvals will go a long way. Fourth, data centers running on most critical and sensitive applications of its customers, which include not only cloud operators and OTTs, by the way, but also banks, financial institutions, enterprises, and governments, and are hosting thousands and thousands of devices and consuming power, which is almost 20x of a regular commercial building, are very specialized buildings, are supposed to operate 24/7, all year basis without any disruption, whether it is a natural disaster or a man-made failure, whether it is a Mumbai flood situation of July 2005 or a global pandemic situation induced by COVID-19, they are supposed to operate come what may. They are made for hosting equipment and not for people. They are supposed to operate automatically even if there is no person in the building to attend to. And hence, because of this specialized way the data centers operate, they follow very different design, engineering, and operational practices, which are different and more advanced compared to regular commercial buildings. And hence, it is important to recognize and categorize data center buildings under a separate category under the municipal laws when it comes to defining the guidelines relating to core and shell construction, fire safety, physical security, setback areas, parking requirements, redundancy of active electricity feeders, etc. Fifth, considering the large amount of energy consumed by data centers, a policy in this direction at a national level is required to aid in setting up of captive power plants based on renewable energy sourced by data centers. A single window mechanism should be created to grant all statutory approvals and permits as required for setting up of captive power plants by data centers based on renewable energy, including land acquisition, project registration with State Energy Development Agency, grant of connectivity by STUs, non-agriculture permission for land, right-of-way approval for setting up of transmission lines, grant of open access by distribution licenses, and more. A policy in this direction will also provide an impetus to the national target of achieving 175 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by 2022. It will lead to a significant reduction in carbon emissions and provide a roadmap for sustainable growth of the data center industry on a renewable power. Sixth, to achieve success in this billion-dollar opportunity, think tanks from Indian data center industry should come together and form a data center industry council under the direct chairmanship of the Honorable IT Minister. The role of this council shall be to advise the government on various policy matters relating to data center industry. To sum it up, I would like to quote William Arthur Ward, a famous American writer. Opportunities are like sunrises. If you wait too long, you will just miss them. To tap the growing data explosion and the opportunities it creates, we need collaborative efforts from all the stakeholders. A consultative approach where all industry players, academia, and government play a critical role. This way, we not only pave the path for achieving India's billion-dollar opportunity for data centers, but also lay the foundation for a truly digital and prosperous India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunil ji. This was really, you've spoken like the voice of industry and really sort of laid out, the challenges that the industry is facing and some very important points which can be fed back to the ministry for further inputs in this mutually consultative manner. Thank you so much. I have the pleasure now of requesting our Honorable Minister who's with us, who spent so much time with us. Sir, please address the audience. We are looking forward to listening to you, your valuable inputs, and really incorporating them in our further deliberations. Sir.
Respected Sunil Gupta ji, Managing Partner, you are hearing me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You are hearing me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Respected Shri Sunil Gupta ji, Managing Partner and CEO, Shri Anurag Dua ji, Partner, Shri Ravneet Chandra ji, Chairman Sahab, Shri Deep Secretary General, Madam Jyoti Arora ji, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor, Ministry of Electronics. First of all, I congratulate SHM for organizing the discussion around a very important topic, and the timing for this is very perfect. We are moving towards digital economy, and a lot of data is being collected, how it can be stored, how it can be used, how it can be guiding principle. Government, private sector, and public at large is adopting this digital economy. Various steps are being taken, and if we want to progress fast, it is the need, it is the necessity to move towards digital economy, and we are feeling the presence of digital economy in all the sectors. In the last session of the Parliament, Parliament has passed a bill to protect the data, because this is very important for country to protect its data. My request to all of you is that government is taking various steps for progress of the industry. It's a period of transformation. Lot of changes are taking place all over the world. Things are changing, things are moving fast. We should convert this difficult period into an opportunity and do our best to adopt the new technology, create capacity, and compete with the world, attract foreign investment in India, so that we can achieve the target given by our Honorable for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Friends, we are in the process of making a new industrial policy. We are in the process of announcing e-commerce policy, and you should give your candid opinion, frank opinion, how to protect the interest of the smart traders. Established system in India. There are 5 to 7 crore traders. How to protect them? It's our duty to give candid opinion and ease of doing business. Mr. Sunil Gupta ji spoke very well about that. All the states are talking of ease of doing business, creating an congenial atmosphere, creating environment to attract the industry, to set up the industries. We are doing our best to create infrastructures. But we would, I request that you should give us true feedback, candid opinion about what is your experience about the claims that we make of this single window system. Many states say we have set up the single window systems. I know the claims that states make or ministries make are not that enough, and your experience are something different. I spoke to one of the industrialists who set up an industry in food park. I said, we are very close to the officers, you are very close to the politicians. How did you feel about here? He said, I had to pass through the old system of giving bribes at various places and get the approvals. My request is that you as association must be very frank and candid in giving opinion so that we can form the policy accordingly with your feedback. It is for the nation. All we are working for the nation. We should give opinion, not only simply appreciating the things. It is not enough. You should point the difficulties you are facing. How we can improve our system so that industries grow in India. Atmanirbhar Bharat is a slogan given by Prime Minister. How to make that successful? It can be done only when we speak candidly, when we point out the things and formulate the things in public interest. So far this digital economy is concerned, government is making crores of payments to Manrega labor, houses for poor people. Crores of pensions are being paid to old widows and handicapped persons. It's online payments, Ujjwal Yojana, even education, it's online now. So it's the need of the hour. 80 crore smart card has been issued to people so that they can get in any state. So it's a very relevant chapter, very relevant discussion today. I will request you people to give your frank opinion on industrial policy, which will be announced shortly, about the e-commerce policy and logistic policy. Logistics, we are far behind other countries. Our cost is 14% of the trade. And how to reduce it to 7, 8%, 9%? How to bring it under 10%? What is your experience? Please give your frank opinion so that we are in a position to formulate the policies which really benefit the industry, which is our aim. So thank you very much for inviting us on this very relevant discussion, very important discussion. I hope you will do your best to fulfill the call given by the Honorable Prime Minister by Modi ji for Atmanirbhar Bharat. For that, you have to increase your capacity. You have to compete with the world. You have to improve the quality. Zero defect, which he says, we have to go towards that. Thank you very much for inviting me and listening to your views. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, thank you so much. You've been so encouraging. You were so forthright in your views and in your comments. And let me assure you on behalf of ASSOCHAM that we are absolutely on the job, and we are working very closely with the industry, and we will come back with our feedback and our inputs in in the task that you've laid out before us, and we will do our best to contribute to this collective task of making Bharat Atmanirbhar. Thank you so much. You've taken out so much time. We are very grateful for that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
May I request my colleague Varun, would you please now come forward and thank all our participants and panelists? Varun.
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. Before I can formally propose a vote of thanks, I would request Anurag ji to make a small correction. He has just requested.
Sure. Thanks, Varun. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I probably addressed you wrongly. I addressed you as AS and FA. I'm so sorry, ma'am. My sincere apologies. It is Special Secretary and FA. I just made this request to Varun if I can get 15 seconds to correct myself. Thanks, Varun, for accommodating this, and sorry once again, ma'am. Yeah. Please go ahead, Varun. Yeah.
Thank you. And on behalf of ASSOCHAM, I formally propose a vote of thanks to our esteemed speakers, especially the Honorable Minister and Madam Arora. As we go on the day, we'll witness the industry leaders deliberating on the subject. I would take this opportunity again to thank you for spending your time. This will be our annual feature, and we look forward to welcome you all in the future webinars. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Varun.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
So can we leave now, Varun?
So can I request Mr. Samuel Varghese, the Vice President of Global Marketing CtrlS, to kindly make his address. Mr. Samuel Varghese, please.
Hi, Namaskar. A very good morning to everybody on this panel. And thank you, ASSOCHAM, for taking this collective voice of the industry together and making it heard with the policymakers. And thank you, Srimati Jyoti Arora ji. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for being so forthright and forthcoming in helping the industry. And I would like to take this opportunity to give, to take it further and to kind of showcase what is happening in this space and what is happening in this digital hyper world. Can I share my screen, Varun?
Yes, just give me a moment. Can you see it?
Yes. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you once again. And the keynote topic that I have chosen today is powering the digital hyper world. And as we've heard from the panelists, that they've already alluded to what is needed for the industry. But I would like to take this opportunity to kind of glance you through give you a glimpse of what's happening today in this new normal and how this digital hyper world is powered. And as from the industry, what CtrlS and Cloud4C is doing to powering this digital hyper world. And I would, I would think that all of you would agree, those who are in the industry and those who are tuning in, ASSOCHAM members, that these 2 years worth of digital transformation is happening in these 2 months. And I'm sure us would agree to this statement, and we have seen that happen. Now, during this new normal, there are a series of
नहीं ज्ञान के लिए नहीं वरुण, मुझे कहीं और एक और वेबिनार मुझे एलजी ने करा था, वो
Samuel ji.
they had reimagined because they had reimagined the way the customer experiences are done. They have reimagined the way the supply chain models work. They have reimagined the way the cash flow cycles have worked. They have reimagined the way how marketing or HR works. And this business transformation for these companies were primarily driven by this reimagination. But one thing which I would like to bring to the fore is, apart from this way of reimagining business, there is one common thread that has made these companies thrive during this situation, and that is reimagining their digital infrastructure. So, and we can see that. Varun, is my screen visible?
Very much.
Okay. So
reimagining digital infrastructure.
That's right. Thank you. So this is the common thread that these companies have followed, and they have reimagined their digital infrastructure. And when we see that how we have been positioned to help these companies because of this power of reimagination and envisioning the future, almost 10 years ahead, today we are in a position to serve almost 4,000 customers globally. And during this crisis time, we have served 60 of the Fortune 500 companies and 108 of the ET 500 companies to support the digital transformation and also to provide the uptime during this time and keep their businesses running. And we are trusted by world's largest multinationals, maybe the largest bank or the largest mobile manufacturer or the largest consulting companies, to name a few. We have been in a position to reimagine and to support this digital transformation for these multinationals. And this DNA of this company, CtrlS and Cloud4C, was visioned by Sridhar Pinnapureddy, who is the founder and CEO of CtrlS and Cloud4C. And we started with a humble journey in 1990s, where we founded the Pioneer Online, which is an internet services company. And in 2008, we launched our first data center in Hyderabad. And then in 2010, we launched Asia's largest rated core data center in Mumbai. And from there has been no turning back. And today we have data centers in Noida, in Bangalore, and we have presence in 25 countries. And we are coming up with our latest data centers in Mumbai as well. These are the pictures of some of our facilities. As you see, the Mumbai DC1, 20 megawatt facility, a Mumbai DC2, which is a 24 megawatt facility, Hyderabad DC1 with a 10 megawatt facility, Hyderabad DC2 with a 20 megawatt facility, Gurgaon Noida DC with a 24 megawatt facility, and the Bangalore DC with 12 megawatt facility. And these are all delivered facilities, and we are going to come with the DC3 in Mumbai, which is a 12 megawatt facility, which will be operational by October 2020. We are coming with one more DC park, which will be launched by 2021, which will be a 250 megawatt in Mumbai, and a campus in Hyderabad as well with 250 megawatts. So what is the vision for us going forward? And as you would say that, as you would see that this building, this facility that we have, this is the data center in Mumbai. This is completely solar paneled glass facade. There is no glass to it. It's completely solar paneled, and we depend upon the solar energy to drive to draw some power into our data center. And this is the first step towards moving to a sustainable renewable energy for our data centers. What is the vision for 2023? We would like to become the largest rated 4 hyperscale footprint in India with 600 megawatt power. And what is driving this growth is basically the customer obsession that we have to help them grow their businesses through digital transformation and support that digital transformation. And as you see, during this phase of our delivery, we have seen our net promoter score going up during this crisis period to 72. And we are slated to become a 600 megawatt by 2024, primarily driven by almost 200 innovations, which we have matured since from 2008. And therefore, we have been recognized in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. We also launched our company Cloud4C in 2012, which is a world's leading cloud managed services company in high growth economies, where we provide end-to-end managed services on any cloud platform. Name the hyperscaler and we are partners to them. We have so far delivered around 1 billion managed services hours, which we have delivered so far. And we have presence in 25 countries and 52 locations, and we provide local in-country services with certified and skilled global SMEs at each of these countries. We are also the largest global premier supplier for SAP. Largest global premier for SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud. And these are the services that we offer. Just to give the members a glimpse of what we do, we offer a full stack of SAP applications. We provide enterprise application solutions. We provide data center modernization. We provide automation. We provide security and compliance services, whether it is GDPR or FedRAMP or IRAP in Australia or SAMA in Saudi. We are equipped with work on these compliances. We do workspace collaboration. We do Linux and Windows on public cloud. Industry cloud framework we have developed as bank in a box to give single SLA up to application layer, insurance in a box or healthcare in a box, and as well as government clouds. And we also work on next gen workloads powered by AI, AIOps, ML and IoT, DevOps and DevSecOps with blockchain technology. And we offer business continuity and other hosting solutions. What is the future looking like? The future is this. Today, 90% of our businesses are focused on managing infrastructure and application through manual processes. And the future will be taken over by intelligent robotic automation, which will take over these manual processes. And the skill sets would also change. And as during this new normal time, we have seen how we have supported the crisis time for large enterprises like Adani, where they have multiple group companies. And Sanjay Kota called us, and there are some group companies which has a requirement of scale up, and some group companies which requires to be scaled down. And we were just a call away to deliver the services on demand. Similarly, with Jindal Industries, our support helped the IT team to focus on the strategic initiatives and leave the complete end-to-end managed operations with complete accountability to CtrlS and Cloud4C. And similarly, with e-commerce company Flipkart, we have supported their expansion plans. And thanks to these efforts that we have worked towards in this new normal, we have been awarded the Microsoft Partner of the Year 2020, not only in India, but from Qatar. We were able to help a government agency modernize their IT to take them to the next league. Similarly, we were honored as Microsoft Expert MSP in 2020 and a Partner of the Year for delivering exceptional solutions. So what is the choice for the members who are viewing this, the company owners, the business owners? What is the choice that we have in front of us? How do we envision and translate the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat into reality? When each of our companies would take this digital platform and modernize, as we see in companies, one of our clients, DBS, who undertook this IT modernization exercise, they saw a revenue jump of almost 72% of the overall revenue coming through digital platforms. And almost twice of the revenue came, profits came from digital customers rather than non-digital customers. So the choice is very clear. We need to accelerate our journey towards this excellence. So what are those building blocks which we need to go through to achieve this modernization? One is we need to focus on the infrastructure modernization, second, application modernization, database modernization, and workplace modernization. And we will assist you with accelerating the digital transformation initiatives for the enterprises by offering acute localization in services with personnel at site. And where do we start? You can either co-locate the facility, or you can move on to the cloud, and you can move to a hybrid cloud solution. We can assist you there, and even a multi-cloud solution. So how do you take this digital journey? The digital journey, the first thing that we need to do is a change in the mindset, a paradigm change of looking at the IT ecosystem from thinking about it as a cost center to a revenue generator. And then the role of the CIO has to evolve into strategy making and to be a part of the board and ally to the CEO, and who articulates a clear business strategy and reconfigure the business models in this new normal. And we need to leverage on data to improve the core competencies. And what is the best solution here is to automate or outsource. And one more key that I would like to stress upon is, these transformations are achieved through partnerships, because we have matured these processes over 4,000 companies, over global companies, and therefore you can leverage these learnings very quickly in assisting your digital transformation. And digital transformation is a must for making the companies thrive and grow in the future and coming days. I would like to thank ASSOCHAM for giving us this opportunity, and also to all the ASSOCHAM members, anyone, any companies or firms who would like to be supported by us. We are glad to help you in supporting you with your digital transformation to make India Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are standing on the other side of the digital divide, and we are waiting for you there. Thank you so much, Varun, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Varghese. Can I request my next special moderator, Shri Rishi Khanna ji, to please switch on his camera? And I would request the next panelists, Shri Manu Sharma ji, Shri Kundan Ghodke ji, Shri Manish Israni ji, Shri Jitendra Singh Pavla ji, Shri Jitesh Nair ji, Shri Sachin Waingar ji, Shri Vimal Kaur ji, and Shri Xavier Kurin ji to please come on board. Over to you, Rishi ji.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rishi Khanna from PwC. And it is certainly a pleasure to be a part of this summit organized by ASSOCHAM and sharing the forum with Honorable Minister Jyoti Arora ma'am and the industry leaders. Now, all this while, during the previous session, we heard there's a revolution happening in India. Government coming forward in terms of talking about data centers to be termed as a infrastructure industry, electricity as open access. Government talking about digital consumers, data center parks coming in, data localization policies, and even the corporates, private sectors coming up with a large data center. So exciting times ahead. Probably for the next few hours, I would certainly like to hear your views, your concerns, your ideas about opportunities and investments we all look forward in India with respect to digital infrastructure, so to say. So with this, I would like to call upon Mr. Manu Sharma, Chief Financial Officer, PI, to share his views on the opportunities way forward for India.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot, Mr. Rishi, for your kind words and a warm introduction. Good morning to all the ladies and gentlemen connected today. It's a pleasure for me to be here amongst all of you and get this chance to talk about yet another subject which has once again put India on the world map, data centers. Now, in the past, we have read and heard about data centers in India, never as much as we have seen in the last 12 to 18 months, especially in the last 4 months, which have seen a very different world, which none of us ever imagined. Today, I'm here in this forum in front of all of you to share my thoughts on how data and data centers are the next billion-dollar investment opportunity for India and what this means for the country's digital infrastructure. I have a 10-minute slot with me, and I'll do my best to stick to that timeline. Mr. Khanna, please feel free to poke me in case you want to do a time check. I have divided my... Thank you. I have divided my talk into 3 main segments. First, I will share my views on the Indian Data Center Vision 2020 and beyond, followed by talk on managing an efficient, cost-effective, and sustainable data center. And lastly, the challenges which need to be addressed to protect existing and future investments in data center in India. We are fortunate to hear the speakers since morning, the Honorable Minister, Srimati Jyoti Arora, Mr. Sunil Gupta, all of who have articulated very well the expectations and the roadmap ahead. And it is very encouraging to see that all the industry leaders, along with the partnership of the government, are working towards a bright future for investments in data center in India. So to start, I will begin my talk with the basic responsibility of any data center anywhere in the world. A data center is expected to deliver top-notch quality along with ability to scale, providing an optimized overall cost of ownership to any business enterprise. These are the basics which need to define ideology and future of data centers in India. So for a minute, let's talk about hybrid cloud. Varun, you can move to the next slide. Thank you. Which is a critical component of data centers in India. I'm sure all the CTOs and CIOs listening to me today will agree that they are always constrained for budget. Being a finance professional, myself, I know very well their plight when it comes to getting budgetary approval for IT spend, which means that there is always limited financial resource and our dear friends have to make every single penny count. This is where hybrid cloud comes into the picture. A combination of private cloud, aka captive on-premise setup, supplemented by a public cloud, which takes care of hypercompute and storage needs at minimum investment. To boost innovation and give an overwhelming customer experience, it is very important that new applications are developed and deployed at lightning speed. Take example of what happened recently. There were a host of foreign applications that were banned for use in India. Some of them were having their largest number of users across the world in India, even though similar Indian-made apps were available but had very little limited subscribers. Now, suddenly overnight, these Indian apps saw millions of new users getting added every minute. Can this be handled by a private cloud? Surely not. Can you imagine yourself in the shoes of a CTO or CEO of such an enterprise where an unexpected event gave such a potential boost to your business and now you need to scout for space and money to add capacity? Can you afford that? No. To cater to this demand, they need to have presence on public cloud with a stable and scalable cloud service provider. That is where players like Pi come into the picture. Now, for the next 1 minute, let's talk about edge data centers. Edge data centers have arrived and will be the future for a country like India, where the internet users are increasing every single day. With more and more smart cities coming up, there will be a need for processing high volume of data, which is extremely time sensitive. Edge data centers are purpose built to handle this, especially for scenarios where reaction speed will be decisive in the success and safety of service provision. And not to forget the likes of OTT and e-commerce, which were very well articulated by Mr. Sunil Gupta in the earlier session, whom the edge data centers bring the content faster and at lower cost to the end users. It does not surprise me at all when the predictions are that in the next 5 years, the market of edge data centers will grow multiple times in double digits. Clearly, in a market like India, the future of data centers is extremely positive, and the vision for 2020 and beyond is very clear that cloud, especially hybrid cloud and edge data centers, will continue to take center stage. But when I say this, it does not mean that data centers will stop having co-location business. There is an equal quantum of business opportunity for co-location business. It's just a matter of time that the Indian enterprises who are currently hosting their data across borders will have no choice but to bring back the data within our geographical borders. Yes, most of them might be subscribing to cloud storage, but there still be enough demand for co-location by domestic as well as global enterprises. Even the cloud service providers, both domestic as well as global, who do not have a data center in India, will need co-location space for hosting their public cloud. Now, let me talk about managing an efficient, cost-effective, and sustainable data center. Varun, you can flip the slide. Once again, I can flip the slide. A perfect example of efficiencies coming out of the use of technology in the data center has been seen in the last 4 and 5 months. It's a phenomenal job that all the data centers have done in the last many months across the country to keep the businesses alive. Varun, you can switch to the next slide. Not just the businesses, even the basic healthcare facilities, including the COVID programs of many state governments, were running seamlessly due to the high quality services provided by the data centers even during lockdowns. Was it easy? Not at all. With movements restricted, with limited access to human resource, it was a big challenge, but we delivered. Not just delivered, we got applauded at all levels for maintaining same standards of services even in these tough times. Being a tier 4 data center, it was given that we will be having this capability. And in fact, one of the largest single facility to have more than 10,000 IoT devices connected together. That is what enabled us to deliver high quality services efficiently and continuously to all our customers, even during these tough times. So what is given is that data center is not just a real estate asset. It has a substantial amount of technology as a crucial element in it. And the technology around the data center is evolving every single day. Now let me talk about the cost effectiveness of data centers. Undoubtedly, this would be one of my favorites. It is a fact that data center has a fat belly, which needs to be fed continuously with tons and tons of greenbirds. It is a capital intensive industry requiring big checks to be written right from the word go. We can flip the slide. Yeah, please go to the next slide. Yeah, flip once more, thank you. The challenge for our data centers in India starts from the first stage, which is actually the selection of location. Let us dwell on this for a minute. In India, historically, data centers have been limited to a handful of locations, only the metros, for various reasons. Is this the norm globally? No. Is this the vision of the leader of our country when he talks about digital India and digital transformation in India? No. The idea is to be inclusive and bring every nook and corner of the country into this digital mission of the country, including setting up infrastructure and facilities across the length and the breadth of the country. There are various reasons for the next wave of data center development in India will be in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Reasons starting from the overloaded and overcrowded civic infrastructures in the metros, availability of high-skilled manpower at optimized cost outside metros, high availability of continuous and cheap power outside metros. All these end up adding significantly to lower the overall setup and operating costs of the data center, which are ultimately passed on to the customers, bringing their overall TCO down. Factors like high quality grid power, availability of fiber grid, availability of skilled manpower, and location under different seismic zones are some of the factors that bring significant cost efficiencies in setting up and running of data centers. These same factors have played a major role in selection of data center locations globally in the last 2 decades. In recent times, in addition to these factors, the pressure on enterprises, no matter what size and scale, for optimizing costs has forced them to look beyond metro cities, which have their inherent challenges with high operating costs. Not to forget that energy still plays a major role in running a data center. And with green power available in many open access permitted states, the logical inclination is to set up data centers in those locations. We envisioned this many years ago. We selected locations of Andhra Pradesh and Kochi for our data centers. Both these locations were not popular destinations for data centers in those years. But now, having successfully executed the project in lesser known locations, I feel very excited to share that we not only proved that what we believed was right, we even helped our customers add a few basis points to their bottom line by reducing their overall cost of ownership. Now, This brings me to one of the other, probably the last topic that I want to touch upon out of the agenda for this session. Something which has been discussed at length since the start of this event today, right from the ministry, from the bureaucracy, from the leaders of the industry by Mr. Shri Sunil Gupta, the challenges that lie ahead. In the next couple of minutes, let us spend some time on what is the future and what are the challenges that lie ahead of us for the data center industry in India. The most important aspect here is to protect the existing investment and promote future investment into this industry. We all know India is becoming a hot favorite destination for investment, especially in the technology domain. It is extremely important to have the right framework and policies in place to ensure that there is enough headroom and level playing field for homegrown data centers. The whole inward-looking objective of Vocal for Local is to promote and empower domestic entrepreneurs and safeguard their interests first. We all accept the fact that Indian entrepreneurs do not have easy access to large capital. And in this situation, it is very unrealistic for them to compete with global giants who have deep pockets and can very well resort to predatory activities to take over Indian enterprises. Yes, we need global investors to bring money. We need them to bring money into India and provide the financial strength this industry needs to be ready to cater to the demand for data centers in the next 3 to 5 years' time. But that has to be regulated and monitored so that we don't land up in a situation similar to what happened in case of FDI in retail. We need partnerships, long-term partnerships, very strong partnerships, which encourage Indian entrepreneurs to continue in their mission to have pan-India presence of data centers spread across the country. I'm sure all the stakeholders listening to this talk today are already very well aware of the challenges that lie ahead of us and will be working together to have a framework which makes India a dream destination for setting up data centers in the region, not only in the APAC region, but in the world. With this, I bring curtains to my talk. Yes, there are a lot of issues which need to be deliberated further among the leaders in the data center industry, and we need platforms like this more to share our ideas and vision with the relevant stakeholders. I thank ASSOCHAM and all the partners for organizing this event and giving me an opportunity to share our thoughts. And I hope you all go back after this event today enriched with more energy and rigor to work for a bigger and better tomorrow. Thank you and stay safe. Over to you, Mr. Khanna.
Thank you, Manu. You are absolutely on time, and certainly very insightful thoughts where you touched upon how emerging technologies, IoT, streaming, 5Gs will give way to hybrid cloud, co-location, and obviously a lot of opportunities. We don't have to only stick around one particular business services. Lot many will come in. And obviously a second important point on that, going beyond the metros now for the data centers, where the land is cheaper, you get a reliable electricity also. And certainly a third important point we'll touch upon a bit later about the policies which we are talking about. How do we protect the existing investments? So great, we'll certainly touch upon it. With this, thank you, Manu, and I would certainly like to call upon Mr. Kundan Ghodke from GPX to share his views. Kundan, I think you're on mute.
So Varun, I would request if you can give me a present in rights. Hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Am I audible as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Rishi. So firstly, thanks, Rishi, for this opportunity and speak over here. Definitely, ASSOCHAM and Varun and team has been instrumental in giving this specific opportunity to GPX and come on board to discuss about the next $1 billion opportunity in India for the digital infrastructure and specifically towards data center. Initially, I will just touch upon the, I will just wanted to give my introduction. I'm Kundan Ghodke. I lead the customer engagement and the marketing activity for GPX in India. A little bit about GPX. GPX is an Uptime Institute Tier 4 data center provider in India. We host several marquee international customers, and we are the hub for all hyperscale cloud content, OTTs, carriers, and internet exchanges. So I will just begin with my presentation. So few very small data points by that sense. If we see the Asia Pacific region is around 1/4 of the world's spend in the data center infrastructure, which is around $42 billion. The key data center markets, as everyone knows, is majorly Singapore, Hong Kong, China, India, Australia, and the rest of APAC. In this, Singapore and Hong Kong are known in Asia Pac as the matured markets. So what we see that, okay, few years, maybe 4 or 5 years,
Manish, sir, some connectivity issues at your end.
Sluggish. Is it okay?
It is fine now. Absolutely fine.
Hello. Yeah. So
You're audible
China and
now.
India stand to exploit the market the most because of the. Yeah, great. So because of the sheer geographic and the populous nations, China and India being the world's largest populous nations, both of these countries are going to exploit market the most and fuel the growth in the APAC for the data centers. As far as India is concerned, we are second largest market for data center infrastructure and the second fastest growing market uh, in APAC after China. So what all the factors which would give us the propelling thing in India so as to further growth in Indian data centers? We have seen certain definite growth in last few years. Specifically, maybe I can say last 4 to 5 years, we have seen a growth which is there in the robust domestic data consumption, which is obviously with the help of the 3G, 4Gs, and the increased broadband penetration. But yes, there are still much to do over there, and we have to do that. So we see that as we have the robust domestic data consumption, it will definitely help us to drive and advance towards a data-driven economy. Also, since morning, with Anurag and obviously Mrs. Arora and all these guys, we heard that what government is doing on a digital India, and definitely there are certain specific 30 plus digital themes which central government is planning to implement. If those get implemented on a scale basis across the nation, at each and every state and each and every part of the country, then obviously we are going to see much more digitization in terms of reaching out to the consumers, because we have actually, with this pandemic situation and everything, we are seeing that the digital education and the also the smart city projects and all that, that is becoming a major thing. So we have seen the another aspect, which is digital identities, which is Aadhaar card. So almost 99% of a population is with the Aadhaar card. So what does that give? So just for a data point perspective, in 2010 there were around only 40,000 petabytes of data which was being there in India. So now if you see the data over here, it's around 2.3 million petabytes, that is 2.3 zettabytes of the data which is being getting generated by end of this 2020. So this is huge, and this is just the beginning for India to be a more data driven digitized country. So further there, then obviously the local data localization is required. Yes, there are some of the hyperscalers and the content providers, they sense some initial opportunity, because India being the large market to be get addressed, they have came and localized their services over here and stored their business data over here and delivering the data from India perspective. But yes, there needs a specific focus and push from the government, as with some stringent policies, not only on the data privatization, but yes, any data which is not only the personal data, but any data should lie there within the geographic boundaries of the country. So these are the certain factors would definitely help in the data localization in the country, and it will also influence the data center growth in the India. Yes, we have seen the migration of to the cloud in last couple of months, 3 months. There are migrations which is happening to the cloud because of the COVID situation. But if you compare it with a emerging markets, the emerging markets, when I say the countries who have started the development little earlier than India, or maybe some of the mature markets, our adoption of cloud and implementation of the applications are still very slow. We are not that fast enough to accept the adoption of cloud. But yes, with this COVID situation since last 3 to 4 months, I'm definitely sure that it is going to get explored more, because enterprises and the CIOs, CTOs are readily accepting that cloud is the way forward to scale up their businesses and the growth for the businesses, and also to be connected with their remote workforce. Another factor which is important is the big data, IoT kind of a new technologies, which we can say, which is definitely getting used in the most of the technology driven companies and the organizations. IoT specifically will help in the smart city projects and everything. If you see, this is the more important aspect, along with the artificial intelligence, machine learning, IR, VR, blockchain. These will be also major drivers for us, because the more number of adaptation for these newer technologies will require converged and hyper converged infrastructure platforms, and those converged hyper converged platforms would need some data center to be get stored. Okay, if you see, as far as the IoTs are concerned, there are some the startups, the who is the next level of the growth which we can see is the startups. So startups are definitely, we have seen Flipkarts, we have seen Mintras of the world, we have seen Paytms of the world. So they have been startup at one point in time, and they were using the newer technologies. They started with some small businesses, but they have grown pretty high. And these guys generally use and adopt the IoT blockchain in their business at the beginning, so as to reduce their initial investments into the IT. They use clouds as well. So that is where the another set of growth which is expected to come in from. 5G, yes, because 5G is will be definitely a significant boost to any growth in data center, because it will provide a network performance and expected to add various service dimensions beyond traditional voice and data to any 5G enabled device. So what kind of these technologies they could be able to support it? It's kind of a robotic process automation, which is RPR. Obviously augmented reality, the virtual realities. This will give a rise to a use case across the industry verticals, be it the healthcare, be it the uh, uh, manufacturing, and we are definitely going to outpace even the some of the developed world in the data consumption. I personally feel more data is getting consumed per person will require more compute, and therefore it will require more DC space in Indian market. So these are the few factors. Obviously, pandemic effect, most of our earlier panelists has already talked about it, because if with my personal experience with some of our customers and the potential customers, is that most of these organizations, because of the lockdown and all those scenarios, and the organizations who were having the in-house data centers, they were the captive data centers, they were finding it really very difficult to run their businesses, because it's they are not able to access their data centers. Electricity was off for the commercial buildings and all that thing. You were not able to run the ACs. There were challenges with the UPS batteries and all those things. So, and along with that, obviously the major thing was giving a failure to manage the failure to manage the surge in the traffic which is required to be given the internet traffic or the connectivities, because in most of the commercial buildings, and if you have a in-house DC, in that case, what happens that the telcos are not having much of a capacity to do that. In addition, obviously, you will not have the multiple options over there. Also, in this particular scenario, again, as they are the in-house DCs, there is a huge lot of pain they have to take it to move on a cloud. And this is the major challenges which CIOs and CTOs has faced recently. So I definitely feel this particular pandemic effect will also give CIOs and CTOs to think about, if at all they are looking for some hybrid kind of a solutions or directly go on a cloud, they will migrate to some third-party data center. Now, we have talked about during since morning that there is a requirement of hyperscale large data centers. There would be a huge data would be get generated, and for that we need larger data centers to be done, and the data center industry should be geared up to manage all those growth. So saying so, when we are talking about the hyperscalers and coming in and setting up over here, the data localization and all that, there is some specific need of the data center which is just next to the eyeball or next to your user, that is edge data center. Why edge data centers are required, why edge data centers are needed? It's definitely because move is towards the content and inclusive digital economy. That will more and more data is being getting generated across the platforms such as cloud and social media. As well, this would be get accessed by people using multiple platforms and technologies. So what it will happen, it will give more data consumption to the user, and their expectation to have more latency sensitive and better experience, the immersive experience for every end user. It's not only on the a person who is sitting at a rural and semi-urban user who could be a farmer or something like that, but at the same point in time, any enterprise user would need a better experience. How that better experience can be given? So the answer is the edge data center. Okay, so what is the edge data center? The edge data centers give the faster and better experience to end customer or user. From enterprises across the spectrum would need an option to get connected at a facility and to create that particular connectivity for their end users from one specific location or the multiple such locations. That's where the edge data center comes in. So edge data center is a high quality, truly carrier neutral. When I say truly carrier neutral, that data center do not resell any kind of a bandwidth. It's a carrier agnostic, it's a carrier hotel. Okay, and provides the service neutral facility and services to the hyper cloud providers, CDN, OTTs, and the end customers, and or the sorry, and or the ISPs and the network balls who would be facing the network balls. So there are multiple cloud providers, content providers. There is open cloud exchange and internet exchange. Now, internet exchange, maybe most of you must be aware about it. It helps the broadband service provider and an ISP, which is an A class, B class ISP, to get connected with the content provider, the OTT player, directly on his network rather than going through any internet service provider, and he can save a huge amount of saving through because his requirement on a transient bandwidth would go down by that sense. Edge data center also delivers cloud computing resources, which also caches content to end users and offer a co-location environment with a multitude of connectivity options to its customers. CDN OTTs also tend to gravitate over here because this edge data center, as they become prime locations to offload content from the CDNs to access provider or the eyeball network directly. The key attributes for the any carrier neutral, service neutral edge data center are connectivity to multiple cloud providers, hosted dedicated private connectivity to cloud providers who can provide them a connectivity directly by bypassing the public internet, like AWS Direct Connect, Oracle Fast Connect, Google Partner Interconnect, and all other hyperscale cloud providers. They are also have an ability to give you a connect one or more carriers and implement highly reliable, scalable, secure network. And in addition to that, the other aspects of the SDNs and IXPs, which are sat inside the same enterprise data center. Just to give you a little overview about what GPX is all about over here. So GPX is a campus offers carrier content and cloud rich neutral ecosystem, which comprises of 12 carriers, 140 ISPs coming across from India and getting physically connected and setting their POPs inside our data center. There are 8 hyperscale cloud providers. So we are the edge location for all these hyperscale cloud providers, and like AWS, Google, Oracle, Ali Cloud, and all those guys. Okay, and there are some more to be added over here as we speak along. There are 9 global CDN players and the 4 internet exchanges. So AM6, DKIX, Extreme IX, Bharat IX, Extreme and Bharat IX. These are the Indian grown internet exchanges. These are the private internet exchanges. These help the ISPs, you and me, who are the eyeballs end of the day sitting at a home, to give a better experience, better quality of a viewing experience to the end users. So, and we are seeing somewhere around 14 plus terabyte of a traffic which is being getting traveled through this. That's it from me. If anyone has any questions or want to add something, I'm happy to hear from you guys.
Thank you, Kundan. Certainly, I resonate with you. Carrier neutral edge data centers are the need of the hours, with the data being generated, services being provided, but certainly low latencies are required, and the focus should remain with the increase in data centers also. So thanks a ton, Kundan. With this, I will request Mr. Jitesh Nair, Hybrid IT Services, HP, to please share the views.
Hey, thanks, Rishi. Manu, can you just make a present out there? Is the screen visible up there?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
please.
I think presentation is yet to come.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Shri and all participants. Myself, Jitesh. I represent Hewlett Packard Enterprise in India. I'll just echo a few of the points what we heard till now, but then along with that, just want to show our point of view, what we feel of basically. So as we heard, the digital transformation is a wave which will be fueled by the complete apps and data everywhere. And this could be as from the edge. We've heard multiple times that it would be from edge, it would be from the cloud, it would be from different users out there or the industry out there. And with this fueling of apps, there are a lot of technology changes also which is coming into picture, from the containers to the microservices. What is enabling this explosion for faster releases of these apps, and when the apps gets released faster, the data sprawling happens very fast. And when we do this, to manage this whole ecosystem, we need a robust hyperconverged or data centers out there, which we heard from the speakers now, and later we'll keep hearing that we have the ecosystem out there. Along with that, you need the technology to power this apps and data in these data centers, be it at the edge or at the central location. What HP has done in 2019, our CEO Anthony Neri announced that HP would make everything as a service, whereby the whole infrastructure for these apps and data, we would give this as a service to the consumers out there. It can be the hyperconverged consumers with their multi-tenancy out there, or be it end user the customer out there. We would provide this as a service, and by doing that, we address two primary problems basically. One is we release the cash, as you heard earlier also in the discussions. The cash flow and the money investment required for transformation is much higher, and we will help release the cash back to the organization, and we go on a consumption model out there. Also at the same time, we help release the resources basically of the organization, because now the management of the infrastructure goes off from the resources, and the resources can be repurposed for doing more into the digital transformation journey, invest their time into modernizing their business apps and business related requirements. To do this, what we did was basically we launched the HP GreenLink services, which is a self-service pay-per-use model. What you get, and it can dynamically, the provisions are there to scale up, scale down the way you want, and we manage for you so that all the hassles of it goes out. And this service can be consumed from the edge to the cloud, or through the co-location providers out there. So we have been partnering with a lot of co-location providers or hyperscalers globally as well as in India to render this service to their customers and some of the direct customers or enterprises we have been engaged with. So that the GreenLink gives you that flexibility to consume infrastructure as a service basically. And we keep adding more and more services onto this. You are seeing a few of them which are being released currently. On a quarterly basis, it gets expanding. So any of this service, when you want to consume through the hyperscalers or directly, we give this as an infrastructure as a service to you on a paper model consumption services basically. And to address this scale of data explosion, what you heard, the other initiative what HP took recently was the launch of our platform, what we call as Esmeralda. This is short for Emerald. With the Esmeralda launch, what we are bringing to the table to the hyperscalers as well as to the customers is basically unified platform of core software portfolio to analyze and do a lot of insights into the data what is getting generated out there. You get a uniform data fabric out there, as well as you get a platform for MLOps, so that it follows the complete automated process, as you heard, that going forward, most of the activities, most of the analysis will be done through AI MLOps using different data science algorithms out there. So this platform, what we got in from Esmeralda, takes care of that, and this is built on an open source ecosystem. We use Kubernetes as a container orchestration out there. All the tools which are required for AML from an open ecosystem is available as a Play Store on this platform to you. And along with that, what we had made sure is that the security parameters are taken care of, because that's the critical aspect to that. And also, this platform is a multi-tenant. whereby enabling service providers or hyperconvergers to consume this and render this to multiple customers as a platform. What we did is that this whole platform, when we gave it as a technology, we also brought it in under the GreenLake umbrella so that you can consume this as a service rather than investing upfront and blocking your cash out there. And with HP PointNet services, we render the whole services around that, and that can be a data science, data architect, whatever you need, we render that as a service to you. So the whole gamut of data analyzing with this, whatever you're accumulating into the system today, gets addressed by HP through this SMR platform. So this gives you the power to create more business use cases and business insights, thereby investing more into the business as you grow this. How we do this fundamentally, we help you by getting into a design with your organization, where we bring in the best of the global experience with giving you the best of the cloud architects out there, workload architects, data science architects. Also, HPE does a lot of work around the data center physical infrastructure, whereby we do the data center design, build part of it. So hence, we can give an optimized view to the workload from the power to the compute part of it. And that's a benefit what we bring to the design out there. We help you modernize this along with the service providers using the IPs what we have created over the years of the infrastructure what we have been rolling out. And also we operate this out, thereby releasing your resources, because going forward, when this explosion of apps and data is happening, you need highly skilled resource out to manage your apps and data environment, and you leave off this operate part to an automated service providers like HP out there, who uses tool sets and frameworks to do a complete automated monitoring of this ecosystem. So net what you see from HPE is fundamental. We understand the data center out there would need a good robust framework and ecosystem to support you with a flexibility to consume model, and that's what we have done with our GreenLake and SMR platform, rendering you everything as a service out there. So that's it, Rishi, from my side. I wanted to keep it short, and we can have more interaction out there as we move up, Rishi.
Thank you, Jitesh. Certainly, we are running short of time, but this was certainly insightful, where we are not only talking about data center, we are talking about for a customer, a people, process, technology coming together to serve them better. Thank you, Jitesh. So with this, I will call upon Mr. Jitendra Singh Pabla, VP Sales and Marketing, STT GDC India, to share the views.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Varun, if you can just share my screen.
Yes, I'm giving you the presentation rights.
Okay, I don't need to do anything, right?
No, you just share your screen once the rights are given.
Yeah. Just let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Not yet.
Pavlaji, can you? Yes, can you share your screen?
Yeah, I have.
Cannot see anything.
Not yet?
No.
Just give me 1 second and.
No problem.
Can you see? No, not yet.
Not yet. Which device are you using?
Not yet.
It's a Mac. Maybe someone else can present. I will just log off and log on once again. Maybe you just asked me to restart. So if someone else can present, and I will take after this.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Can I request?
Okay.
Manish ji to present?
Yeah. So maybe absolutely, Mr. Manish Israni, if He can present some Yotta infrastructure. Manish, welcome. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm audible. If you can allow me to share the screen.
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Okay, great. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, Ji Manish ji.
Okay, great. So thank you, everyone. Thanks SOCAM for allowing us to present our thoughts in this platform. And as our other participant presented that why there's a need of large data center in India. So when we conceptualize Yotta year back in last year May, so we came up with our own understanding of why the need of data center in India, because the exponential growth of data, the mobile phone consumption, the online transaction, the internet usage gone high, coming with the cheapest phone available and cheapest plan, the consumption and adoption to digital economy is more and more growing. So when we were seeing that time, we will compare with the European market, we see that there is an exponential growth and a gap available to be filled by any data center player. And there we have thought of not only creating the infrastructure in a silo-based building, but we have planned to bring the data center parks, which will definitely gonna fill these back from a gap from a 700 megawatt perspective. So we have set with our promoters, and we thought through that what exactly is required to bring unprecedented scale data center in India. So whereas we formed the company Yotta, which itself mean that the largest denominator available at this point in time in the dictionary. So we basically need the expertise, the domain expertise, which we have with our founding managing partner Sunil and the real estate promoter of ours, and people like me who joined the company. But the advantage we have is we have the ownership of land. Our sister concern, the H Energy, is the largest energy distribution company, second largest in India, and they know the entire gas-based power generation. So, and the connectivity. These are the ingredients we need to run a bigger data center in India, and that's where we have come up and designed this in last year when we formulated the company, and we decided to create the data center parks across India so that we can not only serve the local market, but we can also give the hyperscalers and OTT players the sizable requirement of their from a space and power perspective. So we have for the 5-year plan, we have laid out the Mumbai, Delhi, and the Chennai data center park. So each park is having currently around total of 60,000 racks which we plan. And as you know that from a data center perspective, what a customer need, an enterprise customer or a single cloud consumer, what he need is a reliability and a quality and availability of service. So when we started building, we have first thought of we will maintain the speed with the quality and the cost which customer is looking for. So we have completed our first data center, and recently in the COVID time, we have e-launched our Mumbai data center park with the first building available. I'm just flipping the slide a little faster. So this is the first data center which we have gone live with a Tier 4 certification from Uptime Institute for not only the design but also the build, which is on ground getting tested by their team. And this particular facility can house around 7,200 rack in a single data center, which is second largest in Asia and largest in India from a size perspective, where we have capabilities to deliver this data center running your load securely for continuously. And also we have used the best of the breed technology, because we are new kids on the block, and when we started thinking about these size, the people may have a little apprehension that how you do it. But in 13-month flat, we have delivered our first data center which can right now house 7,200 rack with full redundancy and design available. It has its own design aspect where we have innovatively added lot many things from a lithium-ion batteries to solar based power feed and all other new age technology to give you a more secure and more error-free delivery. So currently our focus is predominantly to give a customer experience which is intuitive and easy to adopt when he's moving out from his premise or the other premise. So we have come up in such a time where because of COVID, the lot of business was looking for these facility where they can immediately move and start testing the water before they want to grow in that. So we have the data centers plan across India and in the similar way. So I'm just giving glimpse of what we are doing in Chennai. Again, we are coming with a similar thing, and this will be targeted to July 21, and similarly to attack the north part. So NCR, we are coming up with the another park which will be live in December 21 with another 5,000 tracks. So our footprint to support the digital India move from the government of India, we have tried to make sure that we will give you the unprecedented space and power to consume, to bring your IT, to partner with your digital journey. So we have also taken care of all the reliability and redundancy factor, not only in Mumbai where we are live right now, but also same thing will going to happen in our other data center park from a connectivity perspective, reliability perspective, power availability perspective, and scalability side. So this is the footprint what we have created, and where we have emphasized that connectivity to data center is the biggest need for a customer who's moving in. So we have already laid the path to both the side of our land to connect to all the telcos which are actually moving through this, and till the last mile connectivity to the undersea substation, or where we have the external connectivity of internet via all the operators available. So this gives a flexibility to any of our customer who's tie up with one of the telcos or the network provider in India. We can give you absolute unprecedented availability and connectivity for you to take your digital journey with us, with your power, with your choice of carrier provider. Again, as per our footprint and our blueprint design for the data center parks in India, the power is the biggest thing to run these kind of massive facilities. So where we have again done the utility feed from the grid, where we will be downloading directly from the national grid and giving you the power which is required for these buildings. But we have also invested in the solar plant near Mumbai and also near Chennai to get some of the green power available to us, which we will upload to the grid and get it wheeled down to our data center. So this not only give us a green and clean energy, but this will also give savings to our customer. The utility feed will also give us a saving because we are the power distribution company. Our group company is one of the power distribution in the area where the data center is in Mumbai. So that is also outside of the Mumbai and Navi Mumbai. So it gives you, as Manu mentioned, that when we move out of the metros which are cluttered and overloaded from data center, when we move out from them, we have the savings from a power utilization perspective. So this not only give us the growth what we are expecting and planning to design the size, but also the savings to our customer from a utility grid perspective. And similarly, when we add to solar, it will give another saving. The last but not the least, we are also one of the natural gas based power plant company, H Energy. So based on that, which is a 1.5 year down the line, when we have those plants ready and producing the power, this will give us a saving on a utility charge, but also give us a byproduct of chilled water, which will give us a more better PUE. So when for each 1 kilowatt of power right now, we are asking about a 1.55 PUE. I think by that time you will have more saving. So it is upfront saving your power cost when a customer is looking to come up to a data center. So it is not only the scale what we are talking, but we are talking about the environmental protection, the savings on the power, as a whole gamut of services coming from us to offer you not only the space, the data center, the reliability, but also the savings which are coming as a byproduct to you, where you can grow faster without having a thinking beyond on a price points. So our solutions are not only to give you a colo or a technically a cloud or a VMs or a servers or the rack space, but we are also having the land and power and the in-house technology to give you a custom built data center where we can give you a core and shell and power and operational management. We give it to you, you want to run or we want to run, we can based on that. So this is a unique proposition which is coming from our in-house talent on the electrical, mechanical, and civil construction side. The land is owned by us, and the power has been distributed and created by our own company. So this is what we are talking about when we talk about the data explosion and the consumption, which is really needed in this country from a digital India perspective and a data localization perspective. So if you go through the all sort of factor, the solution what we have created is not only to offer you a colo or a technology, but also offer you a data center itself as a service. So like our fellow colleague and the existing player in data center, we are also going to offer you the same two services, but we have the advantages on top of that, which are predominantly coming from our expertise, not only in the data center, but also in the IT and also in the construction and creation of and running the larger presentations, larger data centers. So this is what right now I have for you. Probably we'll wait for other speaker to come up and then the question answers. Thank you very much again, Rishi and Varun and team to provide us this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Certainly, entire ecosystem plays a role in terms of data center. You touched upon construction. You also touched upon the discussions which are going on regarding cooling concerns, reducing CO2 emissions, and you are certainly coming up with this innovation ways which will actually make a way in future. Thank you, Manish. So, Jatinder ji, do we request you to share your views? Would you be able to share your presentation?
Yeah, I just to save time, maybe you can share it from your side, so that it's not.
I think it is coming. It is coming up now. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah, I think I'm able to see your screen.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks once again. I'm sorry for that, yes, I'm Jatinder Singh Pabla, and I lead the sales and marketing for STT GDC India. I think all of us agree that is a very, very strong phase for co-location industry in India, of course, in the world, but India is in a very, very strong phase. And there are some very unique drivers which are actually pushing this entire growth. Arun, if you can go to the next slide, just play the entire slide. So there are, if you see, there are some top drivers. The first driver is, of course, the cloud driver. You'll have to just play the screen, Varun. Yeah, just keep on pressing till it reaches the end. Okay. So you know that the cloud itself is growing at 33% CAGR, and whether it is IaaS, SaaS, or PaaS, that growth, in some sense, is driving the co-location growth in India, because most of these cloud players are co-located with colo players, and specifically in India. So when the cloud grows at 33% CAGR, a good amount of that growth comes to colo players. So it's not either public cloud or colo in India, at least for now. It is public cloud and colo. Second, the colo itself is growing at a great pace, even without cloud. And the factors remain same. The factors are the IT infrastructure outsourcing, the factors are business continuity, the factors are application performance, latency. So there are multiple factors because of which the colo in itself is growing a lot, and 23% growth is not less. If you see a typical landscape today, around 40% of infrastructure is outsourced, and out of that 40%, in fact, some 22% is with public cloud, and some 18% is with colo. So you see that as of now, the growth is divided between public cloud and the private cloud, not private cloud, the colo players, and the growth itself is 33% versus 23%. So I think both public and colo are going to enjoy a significant growth for next couple of years. So apart from that, if you see the digital transaction, and this is fueled by the current scenarios, current situation, and also by the move towards the digital payment, almost 1 trillion digital transaction will start happening by 2025, which is a huge part of the overall GDP. We're talking about 3 to 4 trillion kind of a GDP. So almost 30% of that transaction is going to happen through the digital manner. And you know the kind of regulatory requirements are there for this. And that brings me to the next point, which is the entire data localization and the regulatory requirement. And there are multiple such regulations. You have RBI notification, which is already in effect since 2018, which mandates the BFSI players to have some part of their data application and processing in India. And we have seen most of the players setting up their shops in India, both DCs as well as DR. We also know that the data protection bill for personal data is almost is there now, and it has started taking the final shape, and some part of that is already implemented. We also know about the e-commerce policy, which recently got released, and which also mandates that the majority of data is located within India. So the data sovereignty regulations are also driving a good amount of colo growth. The HDC and device momentum, I think we talked about it, but one key factor is that today the entire internet coverage is just limited to 30%, and what we are saying is that by 2026, next 5 to 6 years, that coverage will go to 70%. So think about the growth which that is going to drive, and 50% of that traffic is actually coming from tier 2 and tier 3 city, and is limited to video and e-commerce, which video, you know, that is a highly bandwidth and storage intensive application. And last, of course, is investment. And there's a huge amount of local and global investment for building DCs. And many of my friends have talked about that. And government is also getting more and more conducive. We have started seeing some part of that during the current pandemic when ITS, when the data center industries at least started getting recognized as essential services. And though it took some time, but we started getting all the benefits of being an essential service and started servicing our nation as an essential service. So the factors are very strong. All these factors will ensure that the industry continues to grow at around 23, 22, 24% CAGR. Next slide, please. So while this is very strong, let's just take a look at where we stand versus rest of the world. We can be very happy, but we are still in a very initial phase of this growth. India's share is just at 2 to 3% of world colocation market. It is projected to double in 18 months, but we're just 3%. Means it is almost like the economy. We are at 2 to 3%, and despite being a country with second largest population, we are still at 3%, growing, of course, at 24% CAGR, and we are projected to double in 18 months. So huge scope there. India, with all the talks, is still at around 300 megawatt of design capacity, and we will reach 600 megawatt in 18 months, and around a gigawatt in 3 to 4 years. Now, USA alone added 500 megawatt last year. So huge scope of improvement, but we also need to see it in context. India is, of course, the second largest DC market in APAC after China, but China is growing at almost 4x to 5x. So huge, again, huge scope of growth. And but the good part is that we are growing at 24% CAGR, which is almost double the growth of world. So a very growing, very I would say promising industry. But I still believe that it is a very nascent stage, and it's it's between all of us to ensure that we become a very significant portion of the world colocation infrastructure. Next slide, please. I'll just take one more minute just to cover what we are doing, and then I will hand it back to Varun. We are operating in India since 2004. Earlier, this business was known as TCDC, which is Tata Communications Data Center business. We hold 33% market share, so which, if you correlate to that 300 megawatt of design capacity, we are at 105 megawatt today IT load, and we are projecting that we will double that IT load in 3 years. We have 16 DCs live across 8 cities, so that's our current story. Varun, please, just one click. And we, of course, if you see, we are coming up with data centers in Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Delhi in next 2 years, and that is why we are projected to double this load from 105 megawatt to at least more than 200 megawatt. And we are talking about the real IT load here, not the plans or the projected capacity. This we will run this 210 megawatt on ground within next 3 years, which that number today is 105 megawatt. Go to the next slide, please, and that is the last slide. You just need to probably do one more click. Just to give you an idea, while we are the #1 player in India, and this slide is important from two perspectives. One, of course, it helps me say that I am a global player and I am present across multiple countries. But please also look at the kind of infrastructure which are there in other countries. For example, GDS, where we are #1 player, we have 25% market share, but the capacity there is 700 megawatt. So you're talking about a 3 gigawatt kind of market there. And India, we are again #1 player, 33% market share, but a capacity of 105 megawatt. So huge scope for growth. So China and India, we are #1. In UK and Singapore, we are in top 5 market, though the capacity you see is almost equal to India or even more than that someplace. And Thailand is a new market where we have entered with 40 megawatt. So that's all actually I had to share. In nutshell, I think this is a very promising industry. We are growing at 24% CAGR over the next couple of years. There's a huge scope for growth. I don't think this is the time to be complacent. This is the time to capitalize on that growth. And I think the plans are all there, but it will be very interesting to see how these plans phase out, because this is a capital intensive industry. And lastly, of course, all the best to everyone. And let's ensure that the industry remains very relevant and very successful, and all of us benefit from there. That's all from my side, Arora.
Thank you, Jatinder ji. Certainly, a lot of activities to do in India, and certainly to achieve this, or let's say double, triple the percentage which you spoke about in India. Certainly, the synergies are required between private sectors and government, and which on this forum we are seeing also the commitments are coming up. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with
First
this,
time has started getting the recognition. We were always
absolutely
the back end guys.
One of the key points that ma'am also raised was that absolutely, and she realizes that data center needs to be termed as infrastructure industry. So that will certainly give us a boom. So with this I would like to call upon Sachin Vengankar sir from WebWorks.
Hi Rishi. Hello all panelists.
Hi, sir.
Can you just make me as the presenter?
Just give me a second.
Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon all. I'm pretty much sure all the panelists have been there. We have been listening to multiple sessions from the morning, and it has been very good interactive sessions that we had with all the industry leaders, industry peers, government participating, sharing their views, sharing the knowledge and the information. Before I start and touch base upon the points that I have, I'll just like to introduce about WebWorks Data Centers. So I represent WebWorks as Vice President and Head of Cloud. Today, WebWorks, we have 4 data centers in India, 3 data centers outside India, 2 in US and 1 in Dubai. We currently operate 150,000 square feet of operational data center space. We are present in Mumbai, 2 locations in Pune, Delhi. We are a Tier 4 certified, rather Tier 4 design and Tier 3 certified data center. If you look at us, we are a SAP certified data center and cloud provider. We are also a MIT, which is Government of India empaneled cloud provider. On the cloud scene front, it's a third-party system that ranks. We are ranked number 1 in India for maximum network density and ranked number 5 in Asia for the network connectivity. So when I say about this, I'll just like to touch base upon a couple of points. So when I say we have maximum network density, we currently have about 164 ISPs connecting to the data center. There are 5 internet exchanges hosted within the data center, which is Deutsche Internet Exchange, Amsterdam IX, Excitel, Extreme IX, Bharti IX. We have 2 decades plus of experience in hosting, and we are carrier neutral. So I've earlier touched base upon SAP certification and MIT certification. So yes, we are a pure data center provider offering all typical data center services of colo, cloud, connectivity, and carrier. That's some of the presence that we have right now. I won't go through all the slides because I'm pretty sure people would like to hear about some of the points. For the last couple of days, I've been participating in a couple of events or other seminars and panel discussions, and it was heartening to understand that government has actually laid out multiple policies to accommodate the data center industry, to creating a framework. We have seen states trying to provide up special reforms to bring data centers into their boundaries, into their states. That's a good initiatives, good recognition for data center industry, because we were earlier known as the back burners. We are the back burners that drive the oil, that's the data oil. But it's good to get recognition. People are understanding or understanding it as an essential service. We currently, WebWorks as a footprint, we currently have 10 megawatt facilities across Mumbai, Pune, Delhi. We do have plans to expand to about 30 megawatts capability in next year. So where does WebWorks play and how does that relate to the market? So currently, yes, WebWorks plays across in three primary data center offerings. That's the enterprise data center that is typically offered to your typical enterprise customers, small, medium enterprise customers who come along, bring their IT outsourcing. Then we also focus towards hyperscale customers. The hyperscale customers will look for core and shell model, wherein they would look at bringing their own IT infra or maybe their own architecture and require the basic functionality of a data center, and expect a data center provider to build up or provide that. So we have that capability. We provide that as well to our customers. Third, we focus on edge data centers. So yes, we are building up 2 edge data centers as of now in northeast region, I would say. One of the reason for driving, so I've heard a couple of panels mentioning about edge data centers. I'd like to share some live experience. I happen to bring along one of good USA-based cloud organization or niche cloud player to India. His primary requirement was for data centers at 20 locations. He wanted data center colo at 20 locations. And the biggest challenge that he experienced was we have very few players who are able to provide DC offerings at 20 locations. It could be Ludhiana, it could be remote locations as well. why the edge locations or edge data centers are currently important, and I guess our industry participants should also need to focus on, because I would say hyperscale, yes, it's growing. We are trying to address the multiple players who are trying to address hyperscale requirement in the industry, but there are very few players who are trying to address the edge data center offering as well. So of course, Webworks is already participating into that part by delivering edge data centers. Currently, many of the OTT and cloud providers, apart from other technologies like IoT, need faster data access, or data where it could be thrown at a faster, in a minimum possible latency to a nearest possible data localization or data center. If you experienced in past couple of years, the number of OTT providers have actually increased from a single digit to double digit. So there are, I would say, about 8 to 9 OTT providers about, say, 2 to 3 years back. Today we're looking close to 35 to 40 OTT providers in India, operating in India, and this is actually increased the demand for the content to be more nearer to the eyeballs. Of course, that's not only true for the OTT, but that's also true for the cloud. Customers today want more local experience. Even though they like the idea of the cloud, but they want the local experience. And so to have a cloud organization to set up a cloud, local cloud system in a local region, he requires edge data centers. And today I feel that's some of the point where we lack. We have very few players who can operate or deliver at multi-locations, multi-sites. But yes, I do feel there's a lot of opportunity for multiple players. And because this demand is going to increase, hyperscale, yes, there's a very different niche requirement. This is a very different niche requirement wherein a different set of customers comes in. They require huge infrastructure. Huge infrastructure requires a lot of capex investments. So different kind of mindsets come into play. Edge data centers have a different requirement. So the OTT players, the cloud providers could be looking at those edge data centers, whereas the hyperscale requirement would also be driven by these same players, but it would be more for consolidation perspective. I would also like to touch base upon a couple of points. Yes, we have seen some framework being formed from morning. We have been able to hear our IT secretaries and Ms. Jyoti Madam, our Minister for IT as well. We do understand that there's a good amount of reforms and frameworks being charted out for data center industry, and industry would get a separate recognition, which will also have which allow it to have different benefits. The equal participation by the industry veterans of data center industry should be part of this policy making. That's my take, because they would be able to guide the government or maybe the policy makers in the right direction that would help grow the data center industry. As rightly mentioned by Mr. Jitendra Singh Pabla, today data center industry would grow by about 2x in coming 18 months. But to help that grow from 2x to 3x, we require right policy, right reforms to come into picture or come into play. And that's where I feel some of the industry veterans, some of the industry participants should be there into the policy making or policy framework that would help government to fill up or prepare a right charter. Where does a typical, I'm pretty much sure all of you must have experienced, land is a challenge, not because, so of course India has abundance of land, but finding a right land for building a data center is a challenge. So example, you might shortlist about, let's say, hundreds of land, but a right land for building a data center could just come down to maybe 3 or 4. And we should actually have better options that increase the chances for selection of right land. Because for a data center to operate, there are fundamental 3 requirements. Everybody knows about it: land, power, the energy, and of course the network connectivity, the network backbones, which are pretty much key for any data center to operate on. So I pretty much feel that we need to focus on these areas. There is a lot of scope to improvement. India is growing. Government has taken right policies. The Digital India framework, the data localization has helped and will help data center industry to grow, because people would be, or industries or many organizations would be interested to bring back their data which is residing in some other countries to bring back to India or pull back to India, and they would require a lot of colo space, a lot of I would say data center space, and that's where all of us have a equal amount of scope. But to make things right, we need to have people guiding the policymakers, and I'm pretty much sure that our chances of increasing the rise or the growth, or rather in fact targeting even the 2x growth, could be done right by the right policies and right charters. Before I conclude my part, I just like to cover a couple of slides and just cover a small simple snippet. So yes, today Webworks offers colo services, cloud computing services, bare metal servers, managed services, disaster recovery services across multiple locations, and CDN services, both equally in India, Dubai, and US. So I would say this is something from my end, and thank you for all of you, for all the participants for joining in. Any questions, please feel free to connect with me, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Sachin. Thanks, Sachin. Yes, you're right. One of the key takeaway is that while investing in data center, one has to be really sure about the balance between the hyperscale data centers and edge data centers, that which kind of a customers or a target customers one organization has to focus on. So with this, I would request Mr. Vimal Kao, AVP NetMagic Solutions, to please join us and share the thoughts.
Hey, thank you very much, Rishi. Am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Kao.
Thank you so much, Varun, and thank you everybody. For the past 2.5 hours, I have been just making changes in my presentation, because I think almost everything has been covered, right from Ma'am Jyoti Arora and right from the panelist here. So I was wondering that what all I need to cover in order to make it interesting. It gives me immense pleasure that I'm meeting you all today through e-meet, and going forward, when the pandemic is over, I would like to personally meet each one of you. For all of those, because nobody knows me, I'm coming here for the first time on this kind of platform. My name is Vimal Kao. I am representing NTT NetMagic. I look after the co-location practices, and also I head this new site selection for data centers in the organization. Since I have been given 10 minutes, I decided to divide my presentation into 4 major parts. I will touch upon what NTT is globally doing now. Where does India stand in terms of DC market as compared to something is popping up on the window here, as compared to the globe. What is the market overview of India today? And I was surprised that even everybody today is talking about the challenges this industry is facing today, and everybody is geared up to mitigate that. First, I'll just touch upon what NTT is globally doing. We are the leading global data center service provider, having more than 160 data centers in 20 countries. NTT has brought together 5 global data center leaders. Everybody knows from UK, Europe. We have eShelter, Gyron, and NetMagic in India, and Raging Wire in US, and also the data center division of NTT Communications to form one of the top 3 data center providers in the world. In total, we have around 500,000 meters square of raised floor area spread across 160 data centers globally. And to tell you that we're working with 85 of the 100 Fortune 100, globally. So, what does India market look like today? just a sec. I'm having some problems with the screen. Just a sec. Something popping out. Yeah. So if you look at India today, if you look at the UPS capacity we have, globally, installed today, India stands at the 6th position, obviously after US, followed by China, Japan, UK, and Germany, which means that we are growing rapidly. Looking at the operational square feet per capita population, India is well underserved in terms of operating data center space as compared to Hong Kong. We have a huge gap to catch here. As Mr. Pavla also said in his presentation, that right now we are just 2% of the total global market share of the co-location market, and we intend to double it in the next 18 months. I truly believe it. So the structure report says that we might get 3% of the market share in 2024, which I feel we will grow faster than that. Between 2015 to 2019, annual CAGR of megawatt is around 10% globally. But Asia and India, if you see, we are rising very strong, and we are actually doubling the speed at which the world is growing today. So this is something which is fueling in the data center need in India. Edge data centers, everybody has spoken about it. I will not touch on it now. I don't want to bore everybody. Manu, everybody from GPX, everybody was talking about edge data centers, and I respect that. I understand there's a huge market in edge data centers in the coming years. The only question I have is that how big is that market, and how the co-location players, from my co-location department, not player, entity, we deal in everything: cloud, managed services, hybrid cloud, private, public, everything. But from the co-location perspective, I will like to ask this question in the panel, which is coming up later, that how big is this market, in their opinion. And with respect to design changes, believe me, India has to gear up, because there are design changes which are going to hit Indian market. We need to pace up with technology, and probably, the challenges and the support which we need for government is very important, that, they let us do technically feasible things and not bind us with the statutory requirements they have in their respective states. You will see a lot of changes in that technology coming up, striking India very soon. As far as Netmagis is concerned, in India, we have presence in Bangalore, Mumbai, Chennai, and NCR, and we intend to expand in these geographies in the coming years. To give you a perspective that how we are growing, we are doubling our capacity into every 2.5 years span. Currently, we are making 3 data centers, which will be, generating 120 megawatt power in terms of facility load. We are also committed to renewable energies. Starting with Maharashtra, we already have launched a 50 megawatt plant along with Tata, and it's public information. You can search for that. And also, we are planning to have a solar plants in the first step will be Karnataka, and then we will slowly go everywhere, because there's something called sustainability, which is a buzzword right now in the industry. Sustainability is the commitment of all these hyperscalers who are actually using raw power worldwide. They are supporting this green renewable energies, and they are also committed, they're also committing that to the individual governments wherever they are expanding. We're also getting MIST cable. MIST is an undersea cable which we are getting from, Singapore. It will touch base in Chennai, and from Chennai it will come to Mumbai. Proud to say that NTT Netmagic will, host both the cable landing stations in Chennai as well as in Mumbai. Okay. Now, just wanted to say that, a couple of things about, Indian market. We have seen a paradigm shift from 2012, what we were in 2012 and what we are in 2020. Believe me, we didn't even have the real costs of how we are building a data center. But today, we are starting from scratch, right? From statutory clearances, buying the land, making our own designs, greenfield data centers. It's actually becoming more and more mature. And in the coming years, I'm sure that all of us together, this is the right forum of people, right set of people right now who will be driving the data center business into new high in the coming years. We will have a lot of contribution to make to this industry. All hyperscalers have established their presence in India. They're investing in infrastructure to capture the cloud market. So it's a news. It's not a news to anybody. They have made it public. There are some of the hyperscalers are making their own data centers in Hyderabad. It's a public announcement. Yes, what is fueling growth? Definitely, just one liner about it. I know everybody has spoken about it. Digital and data localization initiatives, 4G, 5G penetration, IoT, artificial intelligence, data consumption, storage. These are the things which will drive the market into new high, and there's no doubt about it. OTT players, especially after pandemic, there's a tremendous usage of data. I mean, in the morning, I suddenly got a pop-up from my provider that your data is gone because my son, my parents, everybody is watching Netflix and whatnot on television. So I had to actually activate a data pack so that I should not miss anything in this meeting. One more thing which I want to I don't know whether is the right thing or not, but there are merger and acquisitions which will happen because already global number 1 and 2 have made announcements, and probably Manu was also mentioning something in the, that to be some regulatory around it so that the Indian entrepreneurs they get the right platform to grow. Although Mumbai is having more than 35% of the data center market today, other cities have equal potential to grow. It's just a matter of time. I can see a lot of people have already announced their expansions into various geographies in India, and I agree that there is a demand which will hit us in these geographies very soon. Now, the last thing which I want to discuss about is everybody was talking about the challenges which we are facing on ground. Yes, we are facing on ground, and because of my profile, I work very closely on ground because I have to select the site which everybody sees, which everybody has vouched for right now, that this is very difficult to find a land for data center, and they're right. It's not easy to find the right land for data center because one very unique thing which I have found that you can't have your data center on a Himalaya, or you can't have a where we can have free cooling, but our clients want to they want to stay close to business. They want to see which location is politically stable. That's where they want to invest. They want to see where landing station is. They want to see how far we are from the landing station. There are a lot of things, a lot of parameters which guide us to find the right piece of land for our customers, because ultimately it is them who have to host there. So we also need to have a lot of opinion from them. Multiple approvals everybody is talking about. I think we should be thankful to Srimati Jyoti Arora ji and the other leaders of our government and authorities that they are thinking about it, that have a real everybody has set up a single window clearance, but we need a real single window clearance. We need departments like MOEF, local corporations, MPCB, Central Electricity Board, to pen down the requirements for our industry. It's an important need today. I just give you an example that most of the people are talking. What are the challenges? If the statutory norms of one state are different from the other state, what is happening is I heard somebody in the beginning that the data centers which can take 18 months of construction from grounds up are taking 24 to 30 months. Now imagine the impact you have because you are not actually making data centers live before time, and how much money and time and effort gets wasted because of that. Imagine I have made a data center and I have got some relaxation norms in Mumbai with the 200 square meter car park as against the 50 square meter car park. I have got stacking of DG, which is allowed up to 4 levels, 5 levels in Mumbai. But if I go the same and I have to replicate the design in Chennai, or for that matter NCR, I find it very difficult because it's not fitting. There are different norms, and how much design, everything will change. My design will change. It will take time. I will take 3 months to design the new data center. Then I have to see how far I am, actually, not going as per the statutory norms of that state. it's very important that these small things they have to be taken care of. One more important thing is the ground clearance. Imagine the target my management gives me, that we have to make a 3 lakh square feet of data center in with 30 megawatt and in 2 acre of land. Imagine the kind of infrastructure which will go on ground. That's immense, and with redundancies, and that too. Then I am giving a ground clearance of 30% in some of the states. It will not fit. I need to procure more land. So that those things, small things, have to be penned down, and they have to be penned down with the people who are actually working on ground. So like us, and the people who are working on ground for site selections, they should be also, it's my humble request that we should also be allowed, and we should also be a chance to actually look into these matters and give our give our thought process to them, so that this is the right policy is set for us. So many times I see IT ITS, and for convenience we are categorized under storage or warehouse buildings. That's not the right. We are a different industry. We have different requirements, and everybody knows that. We are a passionate industry. We are new, and we want to grow. We need a lot of support from everybody, and I will request my friends, and this is the right panel actually. These are the people who are actually going to be supporting this cause of making data center as an industry. It's important. One more last thing before I give it to you, everybody, because everything has been covered by everybody. One more thing is that we also need special support from our electricity boards. We are not we are not given 2 power active connections in any of the states today, and then we have to make a lot of adjustments with respect to making our tier 3 or tier 4 certified compliances. If you see Singapore, you can easily get 2 power sources from 2 different sources. And one more important thing which I want to say, we are not a regular industry. We are a data center. We don't do any wastage of power. We work 24/7, 365. We are not like any regular industry which is like which work for 4 to 5 days, and 6th and 7th they don't use power. So very important that while we are penning down these rules and regulations for data center industry, electricity board also needs to be a part of that. That is all I have from my side, and I'm thankful that I could hear all of you, your views. They were very insightful. Thank you very much for having me here. Asocham, everybody, Rishi, Varun, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vimal. Thank you, Vimal ji. And Mr. Xavier had to wait a lot to share his point of views, and he actually heard from a lot of data center providers, but probably you and the way Mr. Jitesh spoke from a technology perspective, I would certainly look forward to your views now. Mr. Xavier Kurian from Dell Technologies.
Thank you, Rishi, and I've been on since the beginning and listening to everybody. And very, very interesting views, right? So I've been listening to the problems that exist and all of this. Now, Dell as an organization, Dell Technologies as a larger organization sees itself as an essential infrastructure provider. I've actually got a whole deck put up, but I don't want to put that up. I'm going to try and finish in 5 minutes, given that we are ahead of time. The idea that we talk about is that while everybody talked about digital transformation, and that is the single biggest conversation that we have when we go into customers, one of the points that Dell Technologies as an organization has been making with these customers is that it's digital transformation is a journey, and as you go through that process of digital transformation, there are a lot of things you need to start looking at. One of the ideas that I think is going to be very prevalent in the days going forward is the idea of what we call multi-cloud, right? With VMware as a part of the Dell Technologies portfolio, we've got some of the biggest private cloud deployments across the world. Most of the colocation and the cloud providers, when they set up clouds, they work with VMware to put up VMware-based clouds. But the concept that we've started seeing across most of the companies that we deal with, most of the consumers of technologies that we talk to, is that it's not enough to go with one cloud service provider. You're going to have to go to the cloud service provider that has the best offer for that particular application or that particular environment that they're looking for. And that's true about the born on the cloud type consumers. That's true about the biggest hyperscalers that are out there. The biggest hyperscalers that are out there are still going to go to other cloud offerings to go put up content delivery networks, for example, right? So the ability to go manage this multi-cloud is starting to become more and more important. That's one piece of the digital transformation journey. The other piece that's critically important is to transform how IT is run, right? Now, we're probably, and I can say this quite confidently, in India, we are the largest provider of IT infrastructure by far. Last quarter, we sold more servers in this country than the next two of our competition put together, right? So we've gone and seen this environment quite extensively. There are three pieces that I want to talk about. The first is what we call modern infrastructure. Now, modern infrastructure we've broken into three segments. First is what we call purpose-built infrastructure. Small things that make a difference. How do you go use titanium-graded power supplies to get that little bit extra efficiency as far as the power supply goes? It's embarrassing to think how often consumers don't, or the users of this infrastructure don't really think about it. 2% of a power bill across the life cycle of a server more than pays for that titanium, way more than pays for that titanium-rated power supply. Purpose-built infrastructure in terms of going and customizing what kind of infrastructure you go put into your data center. How do you go arrange your memory? How do you go arrange your hard drives? Do you get the right sized infrastructure out there? Do you get the right sized server in terms of you so that you can cool more efficiently, right? And a good example of that is a lot of customers tend to put extremely dense servers. And I walk into data centers and the bottom 5 view of the server is occupied because it's a 7 kilowatt rack and 5 view has taken up the 10 servers that can go in, right? The rest of the rack is empty. Start thinking about how you're going to go distribute your cooling infrastructure and how you're going to go distribute that infrastructure. So purpose-built hardware is the first piece of it. The second piece of it is to start using new technologies like HCI. And the HCI offering can come from every major vendor has offerings. We work with 3 of the big vendors out there. Of course, we've got VMware, the VMware offering, which is in-house. We also work with the likes of Microsoft and others to go make those offerings out there. Now, the reason when I talk about using emerging technologies like HCI, it's about adopting technologies that can go make environments, 1, easier to operate, and 2, more power efficient. The third piece that I want to talk about is what we call cloud platforms. Now, the cloud platforms is an extremely broad topic, but the idea of talking about cloud platforms is to be able to put together infrastructure that has automation and built-in security and built-in functionality that allows your management application or a cloud management, cloud-like management in your environment, right? So that was the first piece about modern infrastructure. The second piece I want to talk about is consistent operations. Now, consistent operations is a nice way to go look at it. But the world has gone and standardized into a certain set of operating methodologies, things like IPMI and Redfish and standards that have come up to make operations a lot more efficient. I was talking to one of the biggest, we work with one of the biggest hyperscalers in the country. and every evening at 11:30 he shuts down 40% of his infrastructure. It comes back up at 6 a.m. in the morning, and it happens every day without batting an eyelid. And it has consistently happened for a fair bit of time with zero manual intervention. Their average success rate of coming back up is 99 point. There's been one failure in the last year, right? Something went wrong. Now, the ability to go build that kind of automation, the ability to go build that kind of remediation, if something has gone wrong, go fix it in that downtime window. How do you go optimize performance? Every time you go power cycle this, you can go and move your workloads around so that you bring it back up on the best, most optimized environment. That's what I call automation of operations, right? That's the second pillar to transforming IT. And the third and most important aspect is automating service delivery. Now, service delivery is about comes back to the first point that I made about the multi-cloud environment. There's going to be every workload is going to have a set of criteria that you're going to want to go and deliver. For example, you want your database to be a far more critical infrastructure than your app tier. Does everything need to sit on the same level of redundancy? Which means that you might be able to take your web tier and go put it on an edge with an edge service provider. Whereas your database, you go put with a critical service provider or put it in-house. Your app tier, go and decide how you want to go run that. Now, if you want to be able to go do this, you have to be able to orchestrate this across multiple environments, and that's what we call automation of service delivery. Now, in these three pieces, as far as modern infrastructure goes, we've delivered intrinsically built-in security infrastructure. We've got the cloud-enabled infrastructure that is simple, easy to deploy, and easy to manage the lifecycle. And we've built all the payment methodologies and payment models and all of that into that infrastructure. It's not just the servers, but it's the entire gamut: servers, networking, storage, anything that is required to go into the infrastructure is owned by Dell Technologies and delivered as a single model with the payment models to go with it. The second piece was consistent operations. And for that, we've gone and there's a lot of automation tools that we've gone and built, both within the company as well as partnered with third parties to go and build those automation tools. We've even partnered with the hyperscalers to tie into their automation tools that are out there. To be able to build into this operations journey is something that we've spent a lot of time and effort into all of our infrastructure components, so that you can work with whatever you want to or how you want to go automate your operations. The third piece is operating service delivery, and for service delivery, we've been working with of course one of the partners in the Dell Technologies umbrella, Pivotal, to go build that larger service delivery models and how that entire ecosystem will work. But while we did that, we've also gone and developed a lot of the automation tie-ins to go into the existing open source stacks that are out there. These three pieces is what Dell Technologies as a portfolio has been working on. We've seen a fair bit of success. I think we've grown faster. In India, we've definitely grown faster than anyone else in the industry. On the server side, on the storage side, we're a clear number one. In networking, obviously, there's a long way to go. But as an end-to-end portfolio, I don't think there's anyone else out there that can go and deliver that, deliver the value that is required to customers. And that's what we're trying to develop. That's about all I wanted to talk about today. And I took 7 minutes to do that. So back to you, Rishi.
Thank you, Mr. Xavier. Yes, certainly automation, be it operations, service deliveries, is certainly the need of the hours also. So I do agree with you. So we discussed a lot about edge data centers. We spoke about hyperscale data centers. Somewhere I found that the challenges to an extent were common, be it the government policies, be it the land problem or electricity. But then the focus of the entire industry is accepting the change or the revolution which is about to come, which is data centers. So while we have a less time, but still I had a couple of things we thought we could discuss in few minutes. Let's say maybe if I would request Manu if he can help me understand that recently government announced that we will come up with specifically a data center park policies. And at this point of time, whatever the current guidelines are there and the policies which exist, what does the industry feel will be the future investments in India for data centers? So Manu, if you can help me out with this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rishi. I think that is something which is there on everybody's mind, and everybody is deliberating that since morning, right from the people in the bureaucracy to the ministry to the industry and to everybody listening in. I mean, that is something probably for the first time in the history of this country, the finance minister had spent that much time on 2nd of February talking about data centers in a speech in the parliament. And that talks about the future and the vision which this country has for data centers. Clearly, there's no doubt. I think what we all can agree to, we would have all agreed without this session as well, is that the future of data center is there to stay. It's a phenomenal industry. The future is very, very bright. It's going to be a humongous industry in terms of revenue generation, in terms of employment generation, in terms of everything. But at the same time, because of the magnitude and the size which this industry will grow to, it is very important that right from this stage, there are steps and the checks and balances are put in place so that it doesn't grow out of proportion and it doesn't go out of hand. And as I said in my earlier statement as well, there is a dire need to protect the homegrown investors. There's a need that the homegrown entrepreneurs who have taken this plunge years ago or are still taking that risk are protected and given some preferential treatment in some place of time. I just all throughout the session I was just taking down notes on what exactly is our expectation and how the future of the data center industry, especially in terms of investment, looks like. So as I said, first is that please enable and please do whatever needs to be done. The policy makers are very well aware and they have had some bad experience in the past, but they know how to protect, to make sure that the vocal for local is not just a lip statement. It actually happens on the ground. That is one. Then I think it is time that data centers have to look beyond metros. I spoke about it. There are other panelists who also spoke about it. You also agree to that fact. There has to be an incentive to the people who take this investment out of the metros. The metros are already choked. Let's incentivize people who are choking that metro civic infrastructure further, and put some incentives to the people who are going to put that money into those states, which are in those places which are outside the metros. One, creating huge employment. Just imagine the kind of employment these data centers would be generating, not only by the presence of the data center, but the ancillaries. Srimati Jyoti Arora mentioned about the ancillaries and the business and the employment that will get generated because of those ancillary units in those states. So that is one factor which definitely we would like to get addressed. We are not averse of global leaders in the data center. So we want them. With a clear understanding that we want them. We want to coexist with them. Because we cannot work in actually.
Yeah, sorry, you certainly made a very important statement also, that what kind of a differential will certainly a private player or an international player will certainly get. That's also a very important thing to look at. and obviously the entire ecosystem is looking forward for data centers. As you rightly said, we go to non-metros, ancillary units comes up, the jobs gets also created, and furthermore with this the investments also get created. So absolutely you're right, Manu, but at the same time, since the time is less, maybe I can take a view of Jitendra ji also. While he was focused on the growth rate and he was talking about that how do we increase it exponentially. So any views of yours, Jitendra ji?
Sorry, Rishi, if you can give me just the 10 seconds more. I just want to put one more point across. Food for thought
Absolutely,
for
I'm sorry,
everyone.
please, yeah.
Okay. Now, one more thing which I wanted to highlight is the data centers are power hungry. There would be a lot of carbon footprint which these data centers would be leaving because of their presence, because of their consumption of power. So there has to be some provision in the policy which takes care of this right from this stage now, rather than realizing this at a later stage and reacting at a later stage. So that's the only point which I wanted to add to my words. Please, it's all yours.
Thank you, Manu.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, especially when we are hearing so many announcements, both from government as well as from investments perspective. Now, first of all, it's a good news for all of us. When there is an investment, that means that the entire industry is bullish about the industry growth, and there are multiple reasons for that, and we have already covered it. From a policy perspective, I think three things are definitely need more focus. One, green power access, green power through open access. That is point number one. Some states have it, some states don't have it, and even I think the states which have it, there is scope of improvement in the actual implementation. Second is, of course, the take up by the government department. The government is a huge user of data and data center, but I think the colo industry per se is not getting full advantage of government's growth because of various reasons. So I think government should also invest back in terms of using the co-location infrastructure, and that will definitely bring some amount of growth for this industry and have some and make this entire industry look more promising. Now, while these things are more from a policy perspective, we also, both the players and government also need to notice that that this industry is a very, very capital intensive business, and this is something which is rarely talked about. Now, just for an example, a single megawatt of colo capacity costs almost around 5 to 6 million US dollars. So when someone is investing 20 megawatt or building 20 megawatt, it means that they are investing 100 to 120 million dollar USD for just building that single DC. And it becomes even more complicated because the return happens over 7 years. So you need players who, first of all, have the money to invest and then have patience to wait for 7 years to get their money back. And this is something which probably needs to be discussed more and should be threadbare discussed, and because this is something which will make the players more successful. Because overall, at the end, similar to telco world, there is going to be some churn. Some people will shut their shop. Some people will get acquired. Some people will become successful. So it is very important for both the industry players as well as government to discuss about this matter now and ensure that the policies, the investments, and every other thing is available so that more and more players succeed. So overall, a very positive place to be because we have significant demand, we have matching investments. The business has become the backbone of the digital and business infrastructure, but there is a caution as well because of the high capital requirement and the payment being spread almost, or the ROI being spread almost over 7 years.
No, in fact, I have also been associated with data centers since last 20 years, so I can understand the capital intensive market you're talking about. So one important thing also comes in is that while we are talking about synergies between government, we are talking about synergies between government and private players. We are asking government to intervene and help us out in terms of changes in the policies. certainly. But if we look at other way around, let's say government said that they are coming up with a Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Okay. Now, if a government look upon the industry, how can these data centers fuel this particular Abhiyan? As an industry, if you talk about, and maybe if I can request Kundan to take this point and help us understand, would be great. Kundan, you're on mute right now. Okay, maybe Kundan, we can't hear you. If I can certainly ask the same point to Mr. Xavier, if he has any point of view on how the industry can contribute back to the government towards this Abhiyan, would be great.
See, there's a lot of work that needs to be done as far as developing this entire ecosystem. It's about not just developing the data center, but developing operating methodologies, developing the software required for managing it, developing the entire ecosystem, right? So I know that the government's doing a lot of work towards a lot of that ecosystem. I've worked with some of the some other departments that are working on the software problems. So if you ask me, there's not really one pin that you can go and put in and say that, hey, if we go solve this problem, everything's going to be better. It's got to be 10 departments working together, working with 10 people from industry to work jointly and solving those small problems as they come up to get with the objective of betterment of the entire ecosystem. This, I think, is a great way to go run that. I think everybody's got some great ideas with this conference itself. So my guess would be that government and companies should get these communities together, and not just one government department. It's about multiple government departments coming together, going and saying that, okay, let's go work together towards solving this problem. I think that's what's going to be key.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Actually, the entire ecosystem will have to come together.
Right.
Basically, when I say that to contribute to this Abhiyan, to people finally, entire and sir, while we is in the morning, we have been discussing about policies, interventions, and all. But if I really switch over a bit to a technology side, so let's say if we see the kind of a data centers which are there at an international site, the kind of a best practices which they follow. Maybe I was just keen to know that what should Indian data centers be doing better as compared to the international data centers best practices are there. So maybe I think Jitesh, you would be the right person to help us out, because obviously you have been contributing to the data centers at domestic and international as well.
Hey, sure, Rishi. Yeah, what we see globally is basically when we engage with the hyperscalers outside is there is a long-term partnership which gets built by the hyperscalers as well as the technology providers, and then they come out with a unified framework and an engagement model for rendering services on different areas of the technology, basically. I think that is something which we can put in. Also, what we see is basically the view what the customers are getting from a transparent access and transparent measurement from their power consumption to their IT consumption. That unified operational view with analytics and insights helps the customer to gain more engagement and more tie-ups with the hyperscalers as well as with the technology providers like us. So that's what we have been seeing in the global market when we engage with the hyperscalers outside.
Rishi, I want to add that it's not a lack of international versus India, I think some of cutting edge technologies already exist in India, right? I've seen some really cutting edge data centers within the country operating, running within India already. It's about being able to take that larger scale. The technology exists. The skill definitely exists because most of the international companies, the global data centers, operate with skill that comes out of India. So the skill definitely exists in India, and we already have the data centers in India. The scale is just not where the rest of the world has grown to.
So what you're saying is we are at par with respect to technologies. We are actually adopting the technologies also immediately at the same time, but just that the scale has to increase.
Right.
Yeah. And
Rishi, am I audible? This is Kundan.
Yes, Kundan, you are audible.
Can I would like to put my point as you asked me some specific question.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
So, in my opinion, Atmanirbhar Bharat is just not about the hyperscalers coming in India and doing certain things, and we are providing the space and power to these guys. So it is also to do with something which is we as Indian entrepreneurs and the data center operators should be doing. So I believe maybe there is obviously from a government side, we were always been pushed by the government asking that we should have some cloud warehouses in India, which can store the data, the digital data of India within India. So, and has to be coming from some Indian data center companies. So that is one way to fuel the Atmabharat Abhiyan success. Also, in addition to that, we also need to look upon as a data center service providers that how we can support the budding new age entrepreneurs, the startups, and some R&D efforts which is happening in India, and some other innovations. So how we can support these guys. So very precisely for the startups and R&Ds, they need certain specific because these are the beginning. R&Ds are not the beginners, but yes, startups are the beginners. So they need certain specific support at the beginning, as Xavier was mentioning in his earlier talk, that people are looking at a multi-cloud. So this startups generally don't rely on getting into their own infrastructure, but yes, on a cloud with a multiple cloud service providers. So the locations which are the multi-cloud service operators, and they can get the connectivity through open cloud exchange to a multiple cloud providers, is through a single port or a pipe. That kind of a thing we should be doing. So on behalf of GPX, I can definitely say that we are working with such startup organization or a bootstrap organizations and try and extend our support in their journey, because we definitely feel that when our customers are delighted and happy, moreover, if they are successful, the data center requirements will grow and we will grow along with them. So as far as it's very necessary for us to focus on those aspects as well. And as far as the government's interventions are concerned, government is doing much of things on the doing an Atmanirbhar or Make in India, Digital India kind of programs for SMEs, startups, and tech innovation. But there is definitely a lack in the investments into an R&D. So that R&D specifically from the government and the corporates as well, because if you see a China or a Japan, they are almost 3 to 4 times more investments compared to India. We are just spending somewhere around 0.7 to maybe a maximum of a 1% of a GDP in the R&D sector. So there has to be a focus from that side. After that only, if at all we are able to be seen as an innovative organization, we have the skill sets and everything which is there in India. We are working for the Googles and the Facebooks of the world and the Microsofts of the world, but we are not able to deliver something which is required to be delivered as an Indian stuff. Okay, so that's wherein if we as a country are able to see some contributions towards R&D, which is maybe if we can take it to 2% and 2.5% like a thing, then we would be able to see an innovative country, and then the Atmanirbhar Bharat could be a real success.
In fact, as you rightly said, these SMEs and startups can leverage your infrastructure as a service instead of investing on their own and work on the cause which you are talking about. Yeah.
Yep.
Great. So, Manish, coming back to your point, we heard from a technology side that where Jitesh and Xavier are saying that technology is at par, just that scale has to increase. But what do you think? Are we better than compared to rest of the people, or we shouldn't even get into a comparison also? We should focus more about expansion, and the technology is here.
Yeah, so from a technology and skill, we are always at par or ahead, I say, because this is not a market which just started. I think we Yotta are the new kids on the block, but this industry is there when I started my career, and we have worked with some of fellow colleagues here with their companies and set up the data centers. So yes, precisely, we are also better off from the global player, as what Kurian and Jyoti said, that we also bring our own intelligence and select the best of the breed products, and also our processes are all matured now. So if you see from an automation perspective, the lot of thing which is developed by the existing player, and because we are greenfield, so we have advantage of adopting these IoT based and RFID based automated asset tracking system. We have automatic car allotment system, the parking system, the boom barriers. They are all interconnected with the cameras and giving access to our visitors, our equipment, and we can have the entire life cycle of the equipment of a customer on a multi-tenancy. We can show it to him on a live dashboard basis. So those are the things we are doing it. And because our industry, as Kundan said, that it is a 24/7 365, so there is no local touch from a touch and go from a perspective. So we have to have the best product and best practices and best skill to integrate that, because it is all a reliability of a data center which get the stickiness to the customer. So if we have a customer's website or e-commerce website is running, we have to completely showcase them that what is the quality, and that is where you've been seeing that beat us as a new or beat the existing one. Why we are adopting for tier 4 certification? Because it is the best framework to build the building block from the bottom, or the plinth of the data center, so that it can sustain at any difficult point. It can run the load, whether you have out of water or you are out of electricity or you are out of something, but we have to continue running it. And that's where there's no matter what you say, that comparing us with the world or comparing world with us, we have to bring the best to this platform, because this is an intensive continuously running industry which is hungry for power, which is hungry for technology, which is hungry for resources and skills.
And the data cruciality remains same, be it here or there. So
right.
Data remains the same. It has to be.
Right.
So and let's say we have been talking about data centers, that this is our data center provider has to provide the best possible services, 99.59 of uptime. We're talking about the electricity should always be there, latency should be low. But if we just change the gear, that we also understand, if we leave beside the government for a while, even a data center service provider can have some kind of expectations from the OEMs also to improve his data center portion. So is there anything which you want to highlight, Sachinji, that this is what I would also anticipate from my OEMs, be it a server solution or an innovative storage, or let's say any non-IT side of the OEM portion? Do you have any point of view on the same?
Surely. Thanks, Rishi. I hope I'm audible. Apparently, we have been hearing a lot about automation and data center industry, hearing for the latest technologies. I surely feel all my industry peers would surely agree that today, if you want to be relevant in the competition in the industry, you have to adopt latest technologies, maybe just to increase a marginal benefit of PUE. Okay, or maybe it could be a better cooling factor that can help increase your profits. So on those parts, so any competing or competitive data center organization will always be looking out for better technology, better solutions that can ease their life or maybe bring out better benefits for them and their customers both equally. Fortunately, we have some of the OEMs that are mindful, that listen to their customers. A small example could be in WebWorks data center. We have a simple example could be like a continuous air sampling within the data center. So wherein you come to sample out air quality, and if there is a change in air quality, you based upon the past experience like AI ML based experiences, you highlight and you tag to take the corrective actions. So these kind of systems are slowly being brought along in the industry by the OEMs. OEMs are listening out, and I would also like to highlight that to emphasize more on automation and less human-made mistakes, we should also have somewhat more integration of IoT with AI/ML in your typical DG and UPS systems, which could be integrated, correlated during any outages, so that the support staff find it easier to identify the issues, or maybe the customer, maybe it brings a simple, better customer satisfaction. So example, if you are able to provide him better tracking of his complete IT layout, which he has placed in the data center. Example, it could be the power consumption. So just by opening up his management console, today WebWorks offers based upon the management console, you can just view his complete power consumption, the network consumption, the way his network traffic is flowing across, what kind of privileged routes he requires. So if customer gets this kind of simplistic values, the stickiness increases, customer satisfaction increases, and I do feel OEMs are helping across. They are listening to customers. So for them, we are the customers. So yes, they are listening to us. They take our feedbacks very seriously. And I do feel, yes, we need to work more closely on evolving the green energy, so that more adoption of green energy could be done in the data center industry.
Thank you, Sachinji. And Vimalji, any point of yours regarding the same data center providers and OEMs expectations?
I think when we make design of data center, we do make the best of the design possible on paper. But it is how you run your data centers that eventually, make you successful in the market, and people will prefer you and your data center. Now, the biggest support you need from is the OEM. One of the major reasons why people want to have their data centers in the metro cities is that you get the best of the OEM support, on-site support, spare management is heavy. So all that put together, if you see, OEM has a very important role to play for for keeping our data centers up and running. One more thing I want to tell you is that there is a need of global SLAs to be followed. Right now, you were mentioning about how are we different from others, right? So small things make a big difference. Now we are at GDC. We have 5 data centers across across globe. We do have interactions with them. We are actually continuously exchanging the best practices. We are at par, in terms of technology, in terms of product, as Manish also said, that we use the best of the product for data centers. They have to run 24/7, for 10 to 15 years, as per their life of the product. The problem is not that. The problem is that these products, these SLAs, these BMSs, you have to automate your BMS systems. Now, a lot of time gets wasted in in reporting, giving reports to our customers. This needs to be automated. For that, our BMS OEMs, okay, they should be allowing us to work on those work on their software, so that these reports can be made easily available. Lot of focus has to be on operations rather than giving reporting to customers. So OEM plays a major role for the success of a data center player today, everywhere. So I feel we need continuous support from our OEMs to keep our data centers up and running.
Absolutely. And to the success of this particular overall cause about this summit which we were talking about. So I think if you talk about data centers, policies, data, I think it will certainly for the industry leaders like you, it will take entire day to discuss about. But however, somehow we are running short of time. We have actually overshot the time also. But before I close on it, Manuji had to make a point of view for 10 seconds. So Manu, I just saw your message. If you want to say something before we wind up.
Thanks a lot, Rishi. I was scared that because we've already gone beyond the scheduled time, I
No,
might
there is
not
no.
get the chance. Really appreciate. Now, just one thing. I mean, my all fellow panelists here have mentioned about green power. One thing which I wanted to add to that, I mean, Jatinder Singh mentioned about it, that green power and access, open access, all this has to be there. One of the concerns that I get immediately in my mind is that this policy on data center parks is going to come from the central government. Fortunately or unfortunately, this open access and the access to green power is under the control of the state government. They both need to walk hand in hand. And somehow this harmony or this buy-off by the state government, somehow this has to have got this addressed within the policy. Otherwise, we'll end up in a situation where the policy is there, but on the ground implementation will really lack and the ultimate objective will not be fulfilled. Just wanted to add that comment here.
No, in fact, Jyoti ma'am also pointed out the same thing, that it is not only about
yes.
central, it is about a state ministry also, which state departments have to work together.
Yes,
So
I wanted to
you.
mention her hesitation, but I just stayed away from that fact that she hesitated in her statement about this green access. You're
Yes,
right.
Manu.
Absolutely right.
So, gentlemen, thank you. It has been certainly a pleasure to be with you for last 3-4 hours. In fact, I got a lot of learnings from you, and I look forward to. In fact, before I close, there was an organization who came up with the first level 3 data center in 2000, and I started working from there. That's where my journey started, from a data center. So it's again as close to me as with you. So I look forward to certainly be in touch with you and certainly a successful journey towards this cause. And thanks again. With this, I will hand it over to Varun ji for the closing comments.
Thank you, Rishi ji. Nicely moderated session. I would now, we have submit the recommendations of this webinar to the ministry as suggested by Jyoti Arora ji. And I would be requesting Rishi ji to please compile the recommendations of the summit. A small request I wanted to make to all the speakers. Can we have one page of recommendations point-wise that you want us to include in that recommendations? We can, you can share it with me. I can share it with Rishi ji. And within 1 week, we will try to compile all the recommendations and send the final recommendations to the ministry for their consideration. And this event we are going to do, every year. It's going to be our annual event. And I look forward. I thank all of you for joining us, sharing your insights. And I really look forward in the next edition that we all can meet and share the further what we have done. And with this, we close the summit. Thank you all for attending. Thank you. I also propose thanks to all the delegates who are still present with us. And I can see more than 200 people are still present. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Varun. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rishi. Thanks, Kundan.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.